580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. I am Brendan Dworzinski flying solo in studio with you as we start off this afternoon. Spencer Dupuis will be by in a little bit. He'll be by at least for some What Is Wrong With You. Our semifinals for the month of November are coming up. Dan Lucero is off today. He is on vacation for the Thanksgiving holiday. He and his family are on the road, so it's just us hanging out with you coming up this afternoon. A full 3-hour show with you. We appreciate you listening in, whether you are doing so on 580 AM or 104.9 FM in the capital city, online at 580WIBW.com, or on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. Hey, hello, what's going on? If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, we would love for you to do so. Head on over to YouTube, search 580 Sports Talk, and that is where you can go and find the link to the video today. You can subscribe right there. We're getting close to 700 subscribers. Can you believe it? Already up near 700 subscribers. How exciting is that? So go check out the video if you haven't yet over at 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We have an absolutely jam-packed show for you coming up today. We're going to talk some Chiefs versus Raiders here coming up in just a few minutes. Busy injury list for the Chiefs, including potentially another change at kicker. We will get to that coming up in just a little bit. Our guy Matt Derrick has all the inside scoop on what the heck is going on with Spencer Schrader and the Chiefs kicking situation. So we'll get to that. We'll also get to why I am going to go about face here a little bit and why I am going to be Mr. Optimism about the Kansas City Chiefs. Not that I'm ever super negative about the Kansas City Chiefs, but I am especially optimistic about them right now, and I am going to tell you why coming up here in just a few moments. Also, this hour here on 580 Sports Talk, we'll talk plenty of college hoops. K-State got a win yesterday. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but Coleman Hawkins was very good. K-State wins by 16 points over an outmatched Longwood team, which K-State should do. And we will preview KU versus Duke coming up tonight. What will KU have to do to beat the Dukies out in Las Vegas? We will break that one down coming up here in just a little bit. Plus, since we have a short week, no show Thursday, no show Friday, we're going to move some of our interviews around this week. So joining us, bottom of this hour, Rick Peterson of TopSports.news is going to swing on by for the local sports spotlight, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. We'll get you ready for state football. We'll also talk plenty of Washburn sports. The Ichabods have a new head coach, Zach Watkins. It was made official earlier today. From all-time great Ichabods player to defensive coordinator to interim head coach, and now the head man, Zach Watkins, taking over the job at Washburn. We'll talk to Pistol about that coming up later on this hour, plus a quick round of What Is Wrong With You. Later on in the show, speaking of interviews, Michael Swain is going to stop by for Jayhawk Weekly at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And in the 5 o'clock hour today, Mitch Holthus. That's right. The voice of the Chiefs is going to stop on by ahead of some Black Friday football for Kansas City this week. We'll chat with Mitch Holthus all about all things Chiefs versus Raiders, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union. Also coming up today, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on, we've got our November semifinals for What Is Wrong With You. We've got the bogus Boston Botox, the cheese thief, banned from Ulta Beauty for life, and the junk jiggler. All of those are going to go head-to-head today in our November semifinals for What Is Wrong With You during the 4 o'clock hour, right about 4:25 today. We've also got two big things to lead off the 4 o'clock hour. We've got our turkeys of the year in the sports world. I have right here my picks, as well as some that have been crowdsourced for our turkeys of the year. These are the funniest, dumbest, oddest, weirdest, most loathsome people in the sports world from 2024 on January 1 all through now. We are still taking your nominations for our turkeys of the year, either on the text line 785-272-9429. That is the text line number. Or you can drop us a line on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk, again, is the name of the YouTube channel. I want to know, who is your sports turkey of the year, someone loathsome, someone who did something so dumb, it just has to come up and be mentioned. I will give you an example, a very easy one. Jerry Jones is one of our turkeys of the year. You've probably seen him in the news, all the ridiculous things he's done, like just today, insinuating that Mike McCarthy might get a contract extension. That alone would put him on the turkey of the year list. So I want your nominations. Someone who you could succinctly describe as one of the turkeys of the year in the sports world. Emphasis on sports world. That'll come up in the 4 o'clock hour today. Also, I have an announcement for you guys coming up to lead off the 4 o'clock hour today. And I know that in the last 6 months to a year, when you have heard that there is going to be an announcement at the top of the 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk, it is not a positive thing. That is not the case today. It is good news, but it is news nonetheless. It is from me personally, and it's coming up to lead off the 4 o'clock hour today. So be listening for that. Big announcement at 4 o'clock. We've also got our turkeys of the year at 4 and everything else that comes with a Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. And again, we appreciate you spending some of your afternoon hours with us today. So let's dive right on into it. We've got some Kansas City Chiefs to get to. Let's get to the news and notes here first on the injury front for the Chiefs. It's kind of a mess. The organization posted a little bit earlier on today on the website and on their social media all over the place some injury updates. So tight end Baylor Cupp's been restored to the practice squad. Okay, not a big deal. Also from the practice squad, defensive end Truman Jones and tackle Lucas Niang have had their contracts terminated. Man, I thought Lucas Niang was going to start for the Chiefs for 10 years at one of the tackle spots. That was a bust. As much as a third-round pick can be a bust, that was a bust. So they're out of here. Remember when the Chiefs signed or traded for Cameron Thomas from the Arizona Cardinals at the start of the season? He was waived today. He's out of here. Peyton Hendershot, tight end. He is going on injured reserve. And kicker Matthew Wright, who has once before played for the Chiefs. Dan and I were talking about that just a week or two ago when we heard about the Harrison Butker news. Matthew Wright has been signed to the Chiefs practice squad. And you might say, well, what the heck? Why do the Chiefs need to sign someone new to their practice squad? Well, it's because there is a situation going on with Spencer Schrader, who kicked this past week for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a little bit banged up. We don't know exactly what the situation is with him. Matt Derrick, our pal over at ChiefsDigest.com, he has done some reporting about what's happening. It's a hamstring. That's the problem for Schrader. According to Matt's reporting, Schrader injured his hamstring during a private workout on Monday. Why did he have a private workout? I don't understand that. Schrader so far filling in for Harrison Butker is 5 for 5 on field goals, 6 for 6 on extra points, including the game-winning field goal this past weekend against Carolina. Why was he doing a private workout? Is that an NFI list kind of thing? I don't know. Either way, I mean, these are bottom of the roster guys. You just need a kicker who is competent for as long as Harrison Butker is possibly out for. So you live with it. If it ends up being Matthew Wright for a little bit, whatever. So what? You move on. It is what it is. The major news for the Las Vegas Raiders going into this game, I am determined to not do what Dan did earlier this week and call them the Oakland Raiders. They are the Las Vegas Raiders. I am going to make sure I prove to you that I know that. The Raiders are starting Aiden O'Connell, which is not exactly what you want to be doing in the final third of the NFL season, is starting one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. But the thing for the Raiders is no matter who they ended up going with, they were going to be using one of the worst quarterbacks in the entire NFL. From Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the Raiders are preparing to start Aiden O'Connell Sunday against the Chiefs. The game's not on Sunday, it's on Friday. Come on, Tom, get with the news. Anyway, he's been on IR since breaking his thumb in week 7, but he returned to practice on Monday and got the first team reps. As long as the week goes well, it's AOC time again. Gardner Minshew out for the year. He broke his collarbone this past weekend. So the backup, unless there is some other sort of change in Las Vegas between now and Black Friday, the backup is Desmond Ridder, who you have heard my disdain and ire for pretty much ever since he got the starting job in Atlanta. He is very, very, very bad. Decent player in college. Helped lead Cincinnati to the playoff. Great career for the Bearcats. Very bad NFL quarterback. I don't even know. I wanted to say this is the worst quarterback situation since fill in the blank. I don't even know what the blank is, guys. Like, I like Gardner Minshew because he's fun and he went to my wife's alma mater and she and I had great memories watching him in his 1 year at Washington State. That was fun. he's not anyone who's going to transform your franchise at this point. Aiden O'Connell's not good. I know a lot of the NFL podcasting proletariat was really pounding the table. We want to see Aiden O'Connell. We want to see what AOC has at the start of the year. He stinks too, guys. He's not any good. Desmond Ridder is terrible. I can't think of a worse quarterback situation. I wouldn't even put the Giants in this category. That's also a demon of their own making to to the situation they're in now that they're starting old Tommy Cutlets again. Like Drew Lock is a backup. That's fine. Drew Lock is better than anybody that the Raiders could start this weekend. And he's backing up in New York. Now, he should be starting over Tommy DeVito, but that's neither here nor there. Even with the Daniel Jones nonsense, the Giants situation better than the Raiders this year. And that plays into my belief that I think this is going to be the week that the Chiefs make an about face and beat someone's brains in. I know that I have been historically on this program, the member of the crew, no matter what our crew looked like, that is always, for the most part, a little trepidatious. Because, I don't have that same sort of emotional attachment that you guys might to this team and the built-in rah-rah feeling about this Chiefs team. I feel like I can take a step back and maybe give a more holistic view. But also, I got burned so badly in Super Bowl 55, I've been kind of cautious about going all in on the Chiefs ever since then. Okay, so that all being said, and jokes aside, although that's only partially a joke, this feels like the prime opportunity for an absolute slaughtering at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think it's very easy to get to a point where we see it that way. For an example, just take the coaching matchup in this game. Now, I'm not trying to say that this past week when the Chiefs barely beat the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales is even in the same, stratosphere as Andy Reid as a head coach, because he's not. I mean, those two are nowhere even remotely close to one another. That being said, the discrepancy between Andy Reid and Antonio Pierce, who somehow vacillates between being Mr. Football meathead all-in guy and I'm just collecting a paycheck and I don't want to be here guy. It's really kind of fascinating to have experienced the Antonio Pierce ride this year. And as I've brought up on the show before, it is extremely funny that the Raiders have gotten the babysitter problem wrong 2 times in a row. They have had this dilemma come up, and they have screwed it up both times. It seems almost impossible to get it wrong as often as the Raiders do. But to revisit momentarily, John Gruden gets axed because of the whole Bruce Allen emails, Roger Goodell hates football thing. So he ends up getting axed. They bring in Rich Bisaccia, special teams coordinator. Everybody loves him. They make him the interim coach. The Raiders play really well at the end of that season. He does not end up getting the job. He's now the special teams coordinator in Green Bay. They hire Josh McDaniels, and everybody, they should have kept Bisaccia. All the players wanted Bisaccia. Why didn't they keep Bisaccia? And you look at how badly the Josh McDaniels experience went, you go, oh my gosh, mate, well, shoot, guys, maybe they should have kept Rich Bisaccia. And then they fire Josh McDaniels, and Antonio Pierce is the rah-rah guy that all the players love. Got to keep Antonio Pierce. Got to keep Antonio Pierce. And they did. Here's the problem, though. The issue originally was not getting rid of Rich Bisaccia. The problem originally was you hired Josh McDaniels. That was your problem. Not getting rid of Rich Bisaccia. Just hire a better coach in the first place. So Mark Davis, not wanting to make the same mistake again, just lets Antonio Pierce take over. Antonio Pierce, who somehow went from like Herm Edwards bagman at Arizona State to running an NFL team in turbo speed. I'm really not sure how he was able to climb the ladder that quickly. That's the situation the Raiders are in, and that's a large reason why the Raiders are where they are today. They are the worst team in the AFC West. They're probably going to end up with a top 3 pick in the draft this year. I bet they take Shedeur Sanders, but we'll get to that come springtime. The coaching, again, to circle it all back to the coaching, Antonio Pierce was never going to be the guy to fix this team. He has clearly proven he is not the guy to fix this team. And this feels like an opportunity for Andy Reid to run circles around someone who he has expressed admiration for before, who he has shown respect for before, talked after the Super Bowl this past year about how important losing to Antonio Pierce's Raiders on Christmas Day was last year to get the Chiefs' butts in gear. I think that same principle applies to this win for the Chiefs over Carolina. We talked about it on yesterday's show, and Dan brought this up, and I think accurately so. That was a glum Chiefs team after that game against Carolina. They were not happy. They were not celebratory or in a jubilant mood after beating Carolina. And you know who the Chiefs really don't like? Not Carolina. I mean, maybe some individuals don't. They don't like the Raiders. The Chiefs as an organization, the Chiefs as a franchise, the Chiefs as a concept do not like the Oakland Raiders or now the Las Vegas Raiders. I did it. Put $1 in the jar. I did it. Sorry, Dan, I called you out earlier. Now I did it too. They don't like the Raiders. Andy Reid loves to beat up on divisional opponents and assert his dominance that way. We know that there is a respectful but real rivalry between Max Crosby and Patrick Mahomes. All the great quarterbacks have always had a rivalry with a good pass rusher. That's just a sign of a great personalities, great players. I remember hating Warren Sapp as a kid because he and Brett Favre had beef. Same with Chris Hovan, although Warren Sapp, much better player than Chris Hovan. This, to me, is a chance for the Chiefs to say, you know what? We hear the outside noise, because don't let the Chiefs fool you. As we have known for years and years and years, the Chiefs absolutely listen to the outside noise. They revel in it, honestly, to a certain point. They know that people are talking about them. The Chiefs aren't the best team in the league. Yeah, they're 10-1. They got the best record, but the Bills are playing better football right now. The Lions are the best team in the league. I've even said that. The Eagles are playing great football right now. Maybe there are a few other teams in the NFC who could beat the Chiefs right now. They're not the best team in the league. They hear that noise. We know that the Chiefs hear that noise. And I think this is the chance for the Chiefs in a single game, the island game, if you will. No other NFL games are on at 2 o'clock coming up on Black Friday. Plenty of college games on Friday, but only one NFL game. I think the Chiefs are going to pull out all the stops. I think this is going to be a don't forget about us kind of game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because my question, if you say, well, the Raiders, divisional opponent, that's a tough game, throw the records out when the rivalries play. Okay, sure. Here's my question. What are the Raiders going to do about it? Seriously, what are the Raiders going to do about it? Because if you say, well, I'm worried about Max Crosby. As bad as this Chiefs offensive line has been, do you know how many pressures Max Crosby got when these two teams faced off earlier this season? How about 0? This is from Next Gen Stats. Max Crosby was held without a pressure on 41 pass rushes in Week 8, while allowing a team-high 2 missed tackles for 8 yards. He faced Juwan Taylor on 28 of 41 rushes, did not have a single pressure. Now, could the Raiders do things a little bit differently and do some of that end tackle stunt work that we talked about yesterday? Mitchell Schwartz, former Chiefs offensive lineman, brought that up during the game against Carolina. Sure, they can mix things up. But again, I go back to coaching. Do you trust that Antonio Pierce and his staff are going to do the right thing? Seriously. Because if you do, more power to you. I do not. I do not believe in that coaching staff one bit at all. And the offensive line has not been great all year for the Chiefs, but they were great in terms of slowing down Max Crosby. So that's out the window. Well, the quarterbacks, maybe they have a good game. I mean, Bryce Young had a good game. Bryce Young is better than every single dude who is on that roster for the Raiders. Every single one of them. He's better than Gardner Minshew. He is better than Aiden O'Connell. He is better than Desmond Ridder. So I'm not worried about that at all either. I'm not worried about Aiden O'Connell just going absolutely crazy. And if he does, then I will put my hand up and I will say, you know what, folks, I was wrong. Aiden O'Connell went absolutely berserk. I don't see it happening. Now, the Raiders have an okay offensive line. It's not a complete sieve by any means. But I'm not going to predict that the Chiefs are going to figure out the pass rush, but I don't think it's going to be any worse against the Raiders than it has been against anybody else. Chris Jones loves playing against this team. Maybe this is the game he finally finishes off a sack. There's a lot of maybes and woulda, couldas, and shouldas, but the thing I know is that the Chiefs revel, and their head coach revel, in being able to beat up on divisional foes. And I think they're going to revel in beating up on a really bad Raiders team. A Raiders team that, frankly, has no need to win right now. What is the benefit of winning other than saying, hey, we beat the Chiefs, whoopee? What did that get them last year? The Chiefs ended up winning a Super Bowl and used that game as a rallying cry. The Raiders hired a completely in-over-his-head interim head coach who has no business probably even being a coordinator at the NFL level, let alone a head coach. There's on the bright side, if you lose, is you get a top 3 draft pick, probably. And I'm not saying the Raiders are trying to tank because players don't do that actively. But, man, I'm telling you what, I just have a feeling. This isn't too deeply analytical. This isn't, I've got all these stats and facts and figures. I did have that Max Crosby stat for you. But I don't have any sort of spreadsheet in front of me with all these formulas telling me how I'm going to pick this game. I'm picking this game, as the kids say, based on vibes. And my vibe is that the Chiefs are pissed off about that game against Carolina and that they didn't beat their brains in on the road. All Chiefs fans at Bank of America Stadium, I think the Chiefs are mad that they didn't kick their ass, and I think they're going to take out that frustration on a Raiders team that is dead in the water, that should probably be looking for a head coach again this offseason. We've got more Chiefs to talk about later on in the show. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, is going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour today. We've got some college basketball to get to next. Rick Peterson will also join us this hour right here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW and the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. We're just getting started on 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Brendan Dworzynski with you in studio. Spencer Dupuy will be by a little bit later. Dan has the day off. Rest of the week off for Dan as well. A couple thoughts on Chiefs Raiders coming in. This from the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. This is from Clayton. Chiefs should drop the game against the Raiders so it messes up their running at getting Sanders in the draft. Yeah, that'd be the one benefit, is if you think, man, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a good player. Raiders win, hurts their chances of getting him. But knowing the Raiders, I bet they trade up. They'd find a way to screw it up themselves. I have firm confidence in that. This also from Paul, who says, would love for the Chiefs to unleash hell on Las Vegas. Confirm to the rest of the NFL suspicions and fears that the Chiefs could go nuts if they wanted to, that they are playing with their food every week. That's kind of how I feel this game is going to go. It's just going to be that little reminder. It's going to leave a kernel of doubt in the back of the mind of the Ravens, of the Steelers, of the Texans. I don't really think the Texans are a contender, but you know what I mean. Or the Lions in the NFC, the Eagles in the NFC, the Packers in the NFC. Just know You might not have seen the best version of the Chiefs all year, but we can pull out the best version of the Chiefs when we need it. That's sort of the feeling I'm getting with this game. Again, it's more hunch than analysis, but it's a pretty strong hunch if we're, being, all things considered here. Also, one in from the text line, 785-272-9429 is that text line number. 785 texter says the Raiders quarterback is as good as Chiefs quarterback Damon Huard circa 2006. Well, that's just mean. That's just nasty. Appreciate that text from the 785. Damon Huard. Chiefs fans, and this is, every fan base that has had down times loves to remember the act of remembering guys. And this is not just a men's thing. Women, I know you enjoy doing this sometimes too, but it's such a strong male bonding thing. The ability to remember some guys. For Chiefs fans, for you, it's quarterbacks. It's really crappy quarterbacks. Certainly between Trent Green and Alex Smith. But even before that, too. But, Chiefs fans love to mention, hey, you remember Brody Croyle? Remember Damon Huard? Remember Tyler Thigpen? Remember Tyler Palko? Y'all Chiefs fans love to do that, and I respect it. I have a lot of respect for it. I've been very blessed. My favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, has had really good quarterback play for the vast majority of my life. But I do like to bring up Scott Tolzien now and again. I know you Big 12 fans remember Seneca Wallace when he was good at Iowa State. I remember Seneca Wallace when he could barely walk, when he had to back up in Green Bay for a couple games when Aaron Rodgers was injured. Everybody loves to remember some guys. So seeing Damon Huard on the text line, one, it was very mean to the Raiders, but also very funny. And who doesn't love remembering some guys every once in a while? All right, I did want to get to some college basketball here. We'll talk to Rick Peterson coming up in 5 to 10 minutes or so for the local sports spotlight. We also have our turkeys of the year coming up to lead off the 4 o'clock hour. If you have not submitted one as of yet, let us know. Who is your sports turkey of the year? Someone who did something dumb, who embarrassed themselves, who embarrassed their team, who did something so goofy we have to remember it. Who is your sports turkey of the year? I've got a list of a couple dozen right in front of me. Well, it's actually to my left, but it's on my table regardless. Who is your sports turkey of the year? Hit me up. Let me know. 785-272-9429 or drop us a line on the YouTube channel. All right, let's get to some college basketball. Just a couple quick thoughts on Kansas State. Wildcats got it done last night. Longwood hung around probably longer than it should have been allowed to hang out. They rank, I think it's 180 in the KenPom. K-State, not where you would like the Wildcats to be, but they're better than that, certainly, according to the advanced metrics. Look, K-State wins 80-64. The most important part of this game is that Coleman Hawkins was really good. First double-double is a career double-double for Coleman Hawkins, 19 points, goes for 10 rebounds, had a couple of really nice shots, had a really tough finish with the right hand, right side of the glass during the second half of that game yesterday. K-State just needed to win. They needed to win and needed to win in a way that felt convincing. And while you might say, damn, K-State should beat Longwood by 30, look, I'll take 16. After what happened against Liberty and what has happened in a few games already this year, I will happily take it for K-State. I do have to be honest, though, looking ahead on the schedule, Arkansas Pine Bluff is next. That's coming up on Sunday at Bramlage Coliseum. We talked a lot ahead of last week's game against Mississippi Valley State that the Delta Devils are the worst team in the country. KenPom ranks them 364 out of 364. Pine Bluff is number 362 out of 364. Kansas State, I am begging you. I understand this is a new roster. I understand you're trying to pad the resume going into Big 12 play. I get it. But for the love of God, please schedule some better teams next year. Jerome Tang, this is my plea to you, coach. Schedule some better games for the love of God. Also, I did want to mention, you got to clean up the turnovers if you're K-State. That felt, in terms of sheer number of turnovers, felt like a 2023-24 game. 18 of them. Now, thankfully, K-State did not let that become an even bigger problem because Longwood only got 5 points out of them. 5 points on 18 turnovers is insane. It's insanely awful, frankly. So K-State, clean up a few of those turnovers. This is an even bigger blowout, and we're not sweating it at all. You got to clean that up. Hawkins had 3. Doug McDaniel had 3. Get that stuff cleaned up. K-State will be okay going forward and should blow out Arkansas Pine Bluff even bigger than they did against Longwood and even more than they did against Mississippi Valley State. As for the Kansas Jayhawks, I'm rocking the KU sweatshirt, my favorite sweatshirt. Just the crimson and blue, very classic look. I've had this sweatshirt, I think, since I was a freshman in college. I don't wear it a whole lot anymore because I don't want to ruin it in the wash, but had to represent KU. Big week for the Jayhawks. We'll talk some college football with Michael Swain a little bit later on. KU Baylor this weekend. But tonight, it's KU versus Duke in Las Vegas. And I don't say this to sound like an extreme homer. I mean, you guys know where my fandom lies, obviously. But I feel as though the national top-down view of this game has been very much centered on Duke. Duke's going to win. Duke's got all the talent. And I understand that Duke has the shiny new toys. They've got the best player in the country in Cooper Flagg. Looks like he's going to be a really good college basketball player. Malawak in the middle. He was a top 3 recruit as well. He is super athletic, and I think is going to be a really tough matchup for Hunter Dickinson. All those things are fair. KU is the number 1 team in the AP poll for a reason, guys. KU is the favorite to win the Big 12 for a reason, guys. It's not like KU is a bunch of bums. The advanced metrics like Duke by a few points. Ken Pom, Bart Torvik, Evan Miyakawa, all those different places. I've seen some bloggers. I follow a bunch of them. Brian Rauff, who we've had on the show before, who does a great job covering the sport. He said the other day he likes Duke by double digits in this game, and I just don't agree with that. Is it possible that Duke blows out Kansas? Sure. Absolutely. KU won the Big 12 the year that Kentucky embarrassed KU, held the Jayhawks under 50 points at the Champions Classic. That was the infamous, I was hoping that was vodka game when Bill Self drank the water bottle after the game. But I think KU, at the bare minimum, keeps this close. And I think the Jayhawks have a really good chance to win this game, guys. Duke is the number 1 rated defense in the country this year, according to Ken Pomeroy. But KU's got dudes who can get buckets. Hunter Dickinson can get buckets. He's got limitations defensively, but that dude can score it on the offensive end. We know Zeke Mayo has had some good games so far this year. I think AJ Storr might be the X factor. He is still coming along. It is obviously going to be a long process for him to get acclimated to what Bill Self expects of him. But I think if AJ Storr is a big game, guys, KU could be in line for a really, really impressive win tonight. I think you got to shut down Cooper Flagg. I've kind of gone back and okay, don't boo me because that was so obvious. My point is, I don't think you spread the wealth defensively. I think you need to be focused more so on Cooper Flagg than anyone else. If Malawak beats you, it happens. If Knuppel beats you, it happens. I think you've got to focus the majority of your, not even a plurality, a majority of your resources on slowing down Cooper Flagg. That is key number 1 in this game in general. But I think specifically, if you let one of those other guys beat you, so be it. But you cannot let Cooper Flagg go for 30 in this game. You cannot let the best player in the country do best player in the country things without putting up as much resistance as possible. If he gets 30 and they're all tough shots, bank threes, whatever, happens sometimes when you're going up against All-Americans. But you have to focus a lot of resources on him. Let the chips fall where they may. I like KU's offensive pieces in this game. I don't know how confident I am in picking a KU win, but I do think this is going to be a lot more competitive than most of the national media seems to think it'll be. We'll go from big-time college basketball to local sports here in just a moment with a local sports spotlight. Rick Peterson will join us to preview state football and to talk about the newest head coach of the Washburn Ichabods. That is Zach Watkins. Don't forget Turkeys of the Year next hour. I have a big personal announcement for you guys coming up at the 4 o'clock hour as well. We're still getting rolling here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline a couple days earlier than normal because of the Thanksgiving holiday, we are joined by the great Rick Peterson, the Hall of Famer. I know Pistol loves when we say that. The Hall of Famer, Rick Peterson, who covers all things local sports over at TopSports.news. That's where you can find all of his and his crew's great work. Also find him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. Pistol, first thing, we got a lot of local sports to get to, but first things first. What's the spread going to look like on Thursday? What are the plans for Thanksgiving for you and the family?
Oh, we have all the usuals. We have a big turkey that I got a couple weeks ago. We got the sweet potatoes. We got the mashed potatoes. We got a couple of pies. We got it all.
Love to hear that. Are you more of a white meat guy or a dark meat guy, Pistol?
White meat guy.
Yeah, I was asking all the Washburn players that yesterday during our post-game interviews, and I was saying, like, good answer, and everyone told me white meat. I kind of think I might like dark meat better, but I sort of realized I just love turkey. I'm like the one person I know who would eat turkey any day of the week, not just Thanksgiving.
I'm right there with you.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Well, Pistol, we'll get to state football coming up here in just a moment. I know we got a lot of folks who are excited about state football and all the matchups, but major news today from Washburn, a new head coach. It has been made official. Zach Watkins gets the job, defensive coordinator to interim head coach, and now full-time interim tag taken off. He is your new head coach of the Washburn Ichabods. First time in over 3 decades that a Washburn alum is going to lead the program. Just, Pistol, what were your initial reactions when you heard the news earlier today?
You know, first of all, Zach's a great coach, great guy, was a great player. He's very deserving. I might have been a little surprised only because I just didn't know what they were thinking. You know, I do applaud them very much for doing it quickly because you had to get this taken care of. And with Zach in place now, I think one of his, and I'm meeting with him tomorrow at 10, is I'm guessing you may be too, but I'm thinking the main thing now is to get all those good players that you have on the roster that are eligible to return, get them locked in, get the Trey Richardson and all those great players ready to go for next year. And I do know I've never heard anything bad. I think the players really love Zach Watkins, so I think they got a good chance of doing that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Pistol. It's so hard in college sports now because you always have to recruit your own guys to come back, right, and not enter the portal. But I would imagine this announcement, too, at the very least, you keep an eye on some of those guys who have already announced that they are going to explore other options and say, hey, look, we're going to keep this train rolling, and a guy who is such a respected part of this team and this program is going to be sticking around. I would have to imagine, and I don't have any insight on this, but I imagine some guys are thinking, well, shoot, if Coach Watkins is staying, maybe I still keep my eye on Washburn and maybe making a return from the portal.
Yeah, and I think that's true because, you got the grass is always greener thing, but it's not always greener. So they may just decide that they got a better situation here.
Also, I wanted to get to some Washburn hoops real quick, Pistol, while we're talking about it. And I do want to get to high school football here in just a second. But we got to see both the men and women in the last couple of days. The men with a tough game against William Jewell and a big win over the weekend. The women last night, 3 consecutive blowout victories, starting to feel like Laura Westling's group is starting to put some things together.
Yes, and I was really excited to see that game yesterday because, because I didn't know some of those players. I mean, I've never seen Peyton Sturck play and the freshman point guard and some of those. So I was really excited, and I was very, they got off to a slow start, but then they took control in second half. And, hey, Nabari's just starting to really look like a dominant player. And if Wadada can do, close to double-doubles about every time out like she has the last couple, that puts them in a good spot.
Back-to-back double-doubles, 25 and 12 last night for Bari. What a win for the Washburn women. That's 3 in a row for them. We're chatting with Rick Peterson from TopSports.news. He usually joins us on Thursday afternoons for the local sports spotlight, but moving it up to Tuesday today. Pistol, nice enough to be flexible with his schedule due to Thanksgiving coming up this week. All right, Pistol, I know we've got a ton of people who are excited to talk some state football. We've got one team from the city back for a second consecutive year, the Hayden Wildcats, 11-1. They will kick off at noon against the Andale Indians, who are 12-0 on the year. They are coming off of a blowout win over Holcomb in their semifinal on the west side of the 3A bracket. Noon kickoff in Hutch for the 3A state title. What is it going to take for Hayden to finish the job this year after coming up just a little bit short a year ago?
Well, I just left there. In fact, I'm still in my car. Just left Hayden's practice. I like the way they were bouncing around. They're laughing. They're having a good time, and I think they're ready. I think they're ready to play. I think they, for one thing, hey, it looks like decent weather, which is certainly something they didn't have last year, and that cut into their playbook last year. It looks like everything's set for a great day and a great game, and I think they feel like they can play with anybody in 3A, including Andale.
And I would imagine, too, Pistol, that, from the outside looking in, if you don't know a lot about Hayden, but you know a lot about high school football, you probably look at that and say, yeah, Andale's going to win because, come on, it's Andale. They're a machine. But motivation is such an important factor in high school sports and high school football. And a lot of those dudes playing for Hayden, and of course, Coach Bill Arnold, too, they had that experience a year ago. And I imagine that has stuck with them all year and is going to stick with them into kickoff coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, and something that I had forgotten, and Bill reminded me, his Hayden team is 3-1 against Andale with the one loss coming on a last-second field goal. So they know that they can compete with them. It was different teams and that kind of thing, but it's just not. I just don't think they're going to go into that game thinking that Andale's unbeatable. I think they feel like they can play with anybody.
We can't wait for that one. And, of course, you'll be able to see all sorts of coverage of the Hayden versus Andale 3A state championship game over at TopSports.news. We're joined by Rick Peterson. Pistol covers all things local sports, high school in the city, high school in the county, and Washburn University as well over at TopSports.news, joining us for the local sports spotlight on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. From the rest of the state sites, Pistol, what is another game or two that you're certainly going to keep an eye on this weekend for state football?
I'll look at the 6A, state game. Gardner Edgerton's kind of, the last few years they've been on a roll. I like that. I always like to look at the 5A game. I like to look at the classes that we have teams in. And then I also, I want to keep an eye on that 1A game. I thought Rossville had a chance to make it to that title game. Obviously, Centralia is a very good team, and I want to. I'm kind of like you, Brenda. I'm just a fan, so I'll be looking at it all and trying to keep track of the scores. And it's a great thing for anybody that makes it this far, and I think they should all be proud of themselves.
We should definitely make a point to talk about that Rossville team, which unfortunately sees its season come to an end. But from entering the postseason with a 5-3 record and then making it all the way to the state semifinals, a really impressive run to get there. Come up short, a 13-point loss to a really good Centralia team. But that's a pretty darn good effort, Pistol, for a Rossville team that early on in the season, I think, became kind of an afterthought for a lot of folks.
Yeah, and I was sure they'd be fine. They lose 3, but they lost to start, but it was to great teams. And so then all of a sudden they get into their district play and they dominated. So, no, I wasn't. And like I said, I watched that whole game on the dog feed, and I thought they really had when they got to 14-9, I think it was, I'm thinking, shoot, they're going to pull another one out. But it just Centralia really, did what they needed to do to get that win.
I wanted to ask you really quickly about the smallest classes, actually all the way down to 8-player Division II. We've got a loyal listener, Jason, who wanted to check in about his Axtell Eagles, who are going to play for another state championship. I'm just going to say it right now. I will be stunned the first time Axtell loses and this winning streak comes to an end. That feels like kind of an unstoppable machine. And I don't know about you, Pistol, but I love the 8-man game. I love the little intricacies that are different from 11-player football. I'm very intrigued by getting to see with the new sites and, playing down in Kiowa County, getting to see this kind of celebration of all the different classes. I think for 8 and 6, man, that's going to be especially intriguing.
Well, and my son Ricky's covering those, and I still haven't got used to, maybe someday if I ever retire, I'll go to a 6-man game. But I can't even imagine what that's like. Last time I saw 6-man, I think we were playing flag football. So it would be. I think it would be intriguing to see a game like that. And hey, Axtell, you talk about Andell. Hey, nobody, Axtell's the king right now.
Yep. Yeah, they have been an absolute powerhouse. Real quick, Pistol, we got about 30 seconds here. But now that we are right up against state championship weekend, not just Saturday, it's state championship weekend now. We talked about liking the condensed sites and having multiple games at multiple sites. Now that it's here, and we'll have more feedback on it after the games, but are you still a fan of this new setup for Keisha this year?
I am, because I go back to when I used to sit at Cessna Stadium before it started kind of falling down, and I'd watch the 2, the 3, and the 4A games and just have a ball. And with so many media station outlets now down on staff and have reduced their staff, it helps you to be able to cover more events, and I think that's all good.
We can't wait for it. Friday and Saturday state championship games. There will be all sorts of coverage of that, plus the fallout from the big hiring today for Washburn football of Zach Watkins as the Ichabod's new head coach. You can find all of the information you need about it over at TopSports.news with Rick Peterson, the Hall of Famer, joining us here for the local sports spotlight. Pistol, we appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Zach Watkins' press conference, and enjoy Thanksgiving.
See you then.
That is the great Rick Peterson joining us for the local sports spotlight. Before we get to a break, I want to make sure to tell you guys about my good friends at Calhoun's Jewelers. You have heard my story over the years about how great the Calhoun's folks have been to me, to my wife, from buying our engagement rings to our wedding bands. Every time we need any part of our jewelry collection serviced, they are always so friendly and so helpful for whatever we need. And right now, we've got the winter sale going on over at Calhoun's Jewelers. That's right, 60% off everything in the store running through December 31st. You can go check them out in store over on Gage Boulevard or visit them online at calhounsjewelers.com. We have to get to one final break here in this 3 o'clock hour. We'll wrap things up, get you ready for the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. A real quick round of Random Question Tuesday. I've been asking everybody this. I asked Pistol. I asked the Washburn women's basketball players and Coach Laura Westling after yesterday's game. 3rd straight win for the Ichabod women, by the way. White meat or dark meat? And as I told Pistol, I kept telling everybody, like, oh, great answer. Love, love, love the great answer of white meat. Everybody was saying white meat's my favorite, white meat's my favorite. I really like white meat too. But I got to be honest with you, I kind of think I might like dark better. I like the leg. I'm a big leg guy. I just love turkey. Especially you put some gravy on it. You just drizzle gravy on anything and I'll eat it. But I think I might actually flip my answer from white meat to dark meat. I love the leg. I love going with the leg. It's got these big chunks. My dad, whenever, I haven't been home for Thanksgiving in years and years at this point, but he would always ask me day of when he's making the turkey, Brendan, do you want the leg? And I would say, well, yeah, duh, of course. And then I'd show up at the dining room table, boom, big, greasy, meaty turkey leg just waiting there for me. One of my favorite parts of Thanksgiving, along with all the football, obviously. We'll pick the Thanksgiving games coming up tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk as part of our Prairie Band Sportsbook picks. Right now, though, we've got to get to a break for the news before we get to the 4 o'clock hour. In our 4 o'clock hour today, we've got our sports turkeys of the year for 2024. Any last-minute nominees, get them in either at 785-272-9429 or to the YouTube comments. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Might not be able to get to all of them. We have had a ton of submissions, but we'll get to as many as we possibly can. Also, I've got a big announcement for you guys coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. You got some people making guesses. You are welcome to, I suppose, free country. Y'all, I know, get paranoid that it might be bad announcements when we tell you we have announcements in the 4 o'clock hour. Not a bad one, I promise, but it is personal news for yours truly. We've also got Michael Swain joining us and our November semifinals in What Is Wrong With You. We're still taking your texts. We're still taking your comments on YouTube. We're back after the national and local news, back here on 580 WIBW for 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk's 4 o'clock hour going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski and now Spencer Dupuis here with you as we start off this 4 o'clock hour. No Dan Lucero today. He is off for the rest of the holiday week. He and his family going to see some extended family. So best wishes to them. Very happy Thanksgiving to the Luceros. Dan will be back with us coming up on Monday's show next week. Again, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. First time today that Spencer Dupuis has been in studio with us. Good afternoon, Spencer. He's getting his camera up. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you'll see him in a minute, but he's got the microphone. What's up, Spencer?
Just busy.
Yeah, it's that time of year. Little short-staffed at the old radio station right before Thanksgiving, which is not a huge surprise to anyone. But we are thankful that we are here and we're able to talk to you guys today and enjoy some 580 Sports Talk. So thank you guys for hanging out with us as well. Some very kind words for some folks on the YouTube chat. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. You can go over to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, and then subscribe to the channel. It's right there. Boom. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing out. There's all sorts of great stuff over on the YouTube, the live stream every day, reaction to every single Chiefs game that goes live. We are there to react to it. Every time we go to a KU or a K-State game, boom, reaction. Some Washburn games, it's hard when it's a one-man crew, but we do our best with the Washburn games as well. Shorts, all that stuff on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Now Spencer's camera is up. Spencer, wave to the people. Also, move your microphone because it's blocking your face when you... There we go.
There we go.
We're good. We're locked in. We're not TV people. We're radio people, but occasionally we know how to work the aesthetics.
Yes.
Here in this 4 o'clock hour of the show, we've got our turkeys of the year in just a minute. I've got my list. I've got the ones that have been submitted, and I've got the ones that I have put together as well. Spencer, if you've got any, you're welcome to contribute to.
Oh, I've got one.
All right, beautiful.
I've got one very good one.
Okay, all right. We might have you go first then, because I want to know if we have an overlap. All right. So we'll get to our turkeys of the year coming up in just a hot second here. Also this hour, Michael Swain is going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly. Normal time for Michael. He joins us today as we talk about KU versus Duke tonight. KU football versus Baylor coming up this weekend. And we have to fix an audio issue, right? All right, we're good. We had an audio issue with Spencer, but we're fixed now. Spencer's talking to the mic again.
Yeah, it's always that always happens when I jump on here. I don't know what is. Oh, I know.
I know the issue. Yeah, we got it fixed. All right, yeah. Spencer's microphone is fixed. So we'll get to Michael Swain. We've got the What Is Wrong With You November semifinals as well coming up. Your texts to the text line, 785-272-9429, and your comments on YouTube as well. Again, the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Without further ado, though, I did want to take an opportunity here at the top of the 4 o'clock hour while we are in the spirit of being thankful for things. I announced earlier that I had an announcement for you today, and most of y'all have put in the same guess as to what is going on, except for one. I think it might have been Paul who guessed I bought a new car. Under 14,000 miles, I believe it was. I wish that would be very nice. Although I do love my Nissan.
Well, I don't know. You had a lot of problems with your Nissan lately, haven't you?
I had to get a bunch of stuff in the power trunk door replaced.
Yeah.
To get the brakes replaced. Yeah,
could have gone for a new car there.
Put a lot of work into it. Let's put it that way. But no, that is not the announcement. Some of you have indeed guessed it correctly. But my wife Abby and I are indeed expecting our first child. And I will be taking off for most of the month of December, in fact, due to some paternity leave. I'm going to take some time off, get to spend some time at home with the wife and baby, and we're very excited about it. Every first-time parent is obviously extremely nervous about it as well. So there are nerves. There's a lot of excitement, though, and we are just so excited to be parents and very excited to get to take some time off. So I did want to let you guys know that there will be some personnel changes, but nothing that is too permanent by any means. I will be back end of December into the start of January. Just going to take some paternity leave and get to be home with the kiddo for a little bit. Get to spend some time with my wife. Some extended family is going to come in as well. So we are very excited about that. Y'all have gotten to experience that a lot in these last few years. Dan's son, obviously, just about 6 months old now. He's with the family, obviously. Jake had his 2 kids while he was here. So y'all have gotten to experience a lot of childbirth on the show in the last few years. And honored that we get to be a part of it. Seriously, though, thank you for some kind words that are pouring in here on the text line and on the YouTube comments as well. A lot pouring in. And wanted to just say thank you to you guys.
I got like Clayton keeping it lighthearted over here.
Yes. So you might be the boss by the time I get back. Could be.
I mean, who knows? I do have to say, everyone in me and my girlfriend's lives around us, they are starting to have kids.
Yes.
And it's like caving in on us, but we're nowhere near that.
Welcome to that part of life. Yes, but, everyone gets married.
It's just kind of funny.
Everyone gets married, then everyone has kids, everyone buys a house. Yeah, it all kind of happens in waves. Yeah, we've had the same thing. I mean, obviously, with Dan and his wife, Abby, with their son being born, and we've got some friends. Abby told one of her friends, and she responded with, "Oh, wow, me too." So we are also in that time of life. So we are very excited about it. Again, appreciate the kind words, but just wanted you guys to know there were some moments this summer when I just kind of disappeared, and that was not for such happy reasons. This one is for very happy reasons, though. Yeah. Nothing's changed with the show. I'm just taking some time off to celebrate the new life that is coming into. We
can't really be telling the listeners though. There's changes. There's a big announcement coming.
Well, because
there was some stuff out of our control that happened this summer.
Right. You know, people are like changing jobs all over here. We're changing the length of the show over here. Yeah, there were some big announcements over the course of the summertime, so I didn't want to freak anyone out too much. But no, I do appreciate you guys being so kind about it, and very much excited to have a child in this world. We're super stoked. Have a text in here from the 785. We got a bunch of texts. We're not sure we'll have time to get to all of them, but I do appreciate the kind words. From the 785, do we get to name the kid? No. I will tell you, we're keeping most of this information kind of, under wraps. Nothing personal, I promise. Just, personal preference. But no, we have a name. So I appreciate you asking and not trying to force one on us. I do appreciate that. But yeah,
all of a sudden the text line is just names,
just firing off names to us. Yeah, over and over and over again. So yes, we are. It's coming soon. It won't be too long from now, but wanted you guys to know so you're not asking constantly where did Brendan go. But
it'll still happen.
Yeah, they might still happen. Not everybody listens every day. I understand that. So Spencer, the duty falls on you and Dan if I'm not here to tell everyone when they ask where I am.
Yeah. Also, Jason and Clayton. Spencer, now it's your turn. LOL. TikTok, Spencer. It's coming, friend. LOL. They all do it in cycles.
I assume you're going to respond with no comment.
Yeah, no comment.
Okay, that's what I expected. Awesome. Well, just want to start the hour with that. Thank you guys again for the kind words. Looking forward to however long I'm here doing the show until baby arrives. So why don't we get to some fun stuff, shall we? Why don't we get to our sports turkeys of the year? Our first annual 580 Sports Talk Turkeys of the Year. I can't say it's the first time this has ever been done. I found a column from a paper in New York that did a similar feature literally this morning. I also stole the idea directly from Pardon the Interruption. I don't know if they still do it because I don't watch because it's about to start in 15 minutes. And I don't watch it. Haven't watched it regularly in a long, long time. But they came up with the idea. I loved it as a kid. I love it now. So we're going to get to our sports turkeys of the year. The dumbest, the goofiest, the oddest, the most churliest, whatever you want to say to describe them. If you said, wow, that guy's a real turkey, they fit in this category. Spencer, you told us you have a very good one. I would love for you to go first. We have a bunch of listener entries. We cannot get to all of them. We're doing our best to get to as many as we can, but a lot have poured in. We'll get to what we can. Spencer, you are up first.
I've got two.
All right.
One is going to be from my near and dear fandom side, and the other is going to be from the Chiefs side.
Okay.
Ron Rivera.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not a good head coach. Not a good head coach. Not a good head coach. He's supposedly the analytics of football was his way of life, but he didn't even know when. Remember when he didn't know that they were out of playoff contention? Do you remember when that went viral?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Had to find out during a press conference.
Ceased and desist, gone from head coaching, never going to be a head coach again. Thank God that he's no longer a head coach.
Yes, I imagine you're very excited. I know you're very excited about that.
And then my other one, Kadarius Toney.
I thought we might have some overlap. I also have Kadarius Toney on mine. Why did you put him on the turkey list?
Because he's Kadarius Toney. He's Mr. Drop Balls, Is he on his third team now this year? Technically, isn't he on the Saints?
Oh my! I don't know where he is actually.
I think he's on the Saints roster.
I know he's bounced around. Is he on the active roster? I had him on here specifically for what happened around the Super Bowl when the Chiefs were trying to say, yeah, he's injured. Yeah, he can't play because he's injured. Please do not ask because just be aware he is injured. And then Kadarius Toney goes on Instagram and says, I'm not injured. They're sitting me down.
Wait, he's on the Browns.
Well, there you go. Still bouncing around. Yeah. Kadarius Toney was on my list too.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. All right, let's get to some other ones here. I think we've got a good list. We'll get to some of the ones I had on here. Why don't we just stick with the NFL, Spencer, because there have been a lot of them. Let's start with Tom Brady, shall we? Tom Brady in the booth on Fox. He's getting $35 million a year or whatever it is. First of all, point A, he's bad at it. He is not good. I listened to the entire game that he was on this past weekend. It was Packers versus 49ers. He stinks. He's not good. He had a good week a couple weeks ago when I heard him. Not yesterday, and not for most of the season. So not only is he bad at that, turkey point number one, turkey point number two, he also bought a team. He bought 5% of the Las Vegas Raiders. So now he can't go to production meetings. He can't ever go to team facilities. He can't criticize officials during the broadcast. And he's got to be very particular about what he's able to say. Spencer, I don't know about you.
How can he do his job? Like, how can they not try to get out of this contract to Fox?
Exactly. I'm with you. Before I do a Washburn game, I go to the media availability for Washburn. I talk on the phone to the coaches, talk to some players, do our interviews, get our recorded stuff, ask, hey, how's everybody doing? What's the injury situation looking like? How are we feeling about this weekend? Things like that. Imagine not being able to do that and then trying to go call an NFL game.
Yeah, I just think it's hilarious because a lot of times you hear these broadcasters talk about, oh, yeah, we went out to the facility the other day, or we were out at the facility at practice. We did this, and this. We met with them at the hotel. Can't do that.
Nope.
You can't do that. You can't be a good broadcaster if you can't do that.
So Tom Brady, gobble, gobble, you're a turkey.
But I do think he tries to get around it while scheduling it. Like he did. Remember he did that interview with Mahomes?
Yeah.
Like it
was the sit down interview he did. Yeah.
I think that's how he tries to get around with meeting some of the guys, and he knows them, so he might just be texting some of them. But yeah, it doesn't. Fox needs to get out of their contract.
Sticking with the NFL, Jerry Jones, you're on the turkey list this year. Jerry Jones just this morning said that it's not out of the realm of possibility that Mike McCarthy gets a contract extension. What?
Is this on his same radio show where he wanted to kill the
host? Where he threatened the host of his radio show. The same guy who is like, no, it's fine. We know how the sun works. It's not a problem. Even though his own players said, actually, it's a problem. He's an old coot, and he's very bad at his job. He's out of his mind. He's a turkey. We also had an entry from Mark on the YouTube feed. I think this might have been today, but he also mentioned it the other day. Mike McCarthy himself. He's turkey of the year. That team stinks. They are dead in the water. Although, I won't reference this past weekend. For your sake, I won't mention this weekend. That was
one of the weirdest NFL games in the world.
It was a very weird NFL game. Also from the NFL, I'm going to give a nod to Matt Eberflus, head coach of the Chicago Bears. Boy, they suck. They are awful. And he is the worst coach in the NFL. Antonio Pierce is right there next to him. But I think Matt Eberflus might be the worst coach in the NFL. Players don't respect him. He can't handle the media. He can't handle decision-making. And he's supposed to be a defensive guy, and his defense has gotten worse over the course of the year. He is going to get his ass fired as soon as the season is over. Matt Eberflus, you are one of our turkeys of the year. Also have another one from Mark on YouTube. The Nasty Man. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson. You never cheer for injuries, but I will phrase it this way. I'm not sad Deshaun Watson's not playing right now. I'm not sad that he is not getting to play in the NFL at the moment. I think that covers it for my NFL entries. We also had another one that was Bears related. This was from Joe on Blue Sky this week. Tyreek Stevenson of the Chicago Bears, the cornerback who instead of defending the Washington Commanders' Hail Mary 3 weeks ago, decided to taunt Washington fans in the corner of the end zone, let his man get behind the pile, then ran into the play, tipped the Hail Mary right to Noah Brown for the Commanders to beat the Bears. That is a great answer. Tyreek Stevenson, You are a turkey. I think we had another entry nominating Tyreek Stevenson. I think it was Vance on YouTube who entered him a little bit earlier on today. Also from the NFL, this was from a texter from the 316 last week when we announced this segment. Rashee Rice's mom. She's the turkey of the year. She will be featured in the
year-end.
In our year-end tournament of failed champions for What Is Wrong With You, while wearing a custom, what did it say?
Mama Rice.
Mama Rice, number 4 Chiefs jersey, went porch pirating.
It also was the evening after her son got hurt and is now out for the season.
Same day.
Yeah.
Same evening. Absolutely ludicrous. So Rashee Rice's mom, you also are one of our turkeys of the year. We also had this entry from Sean on Blue Sky. Anything Will Levis has done. Every single thing he has done all year has landed him on the turkey list. And frankly, I don't disagree. He did have a very funny pick six yesterday, but won. Or I'm sorry, on Sunday, but they won.
Yeah.
Beat the Texans. So shout out to Mr. Mayo himself, Will Levis. All right, why don't we get to a quick couple from college football? Jayhawker on YouTube, he entered Eli Drinkwitz. Yes, Eli Drinkwitz is an all-time turkey. Dude's cursing at fans. He's so bombastic. I know we've got some Mizzou fans. Derek is a big Mizzou fan as well. Matt, I'm sorry. I can't stand Eli Drinkwitz, and I hope when KU and Missouri finally play again, KU pounds him into a fine paste. Eli Drinkwitz, you are so frustrating to watch. Also, one of my entries, Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, where he oversaw a student die, by the way. He left Notre Dame to go to LSU because, A, he was going to get paid more money, and B, because he thought it would be easier to win a championship. And what have they done, Spencer, since he got to LSU? Gotten worse.
Yep.
They're farther than ever from winning a championship since he's been there. He's a bad guy. I'm willing to just come out and say it. I think Brian Kelly is a very bad guy. There's the old story from when Matt LaFleur and Robert Saleh were GAs for Central Michigan, and Brian Kelly was the coach there, that he invited them to a party he was having at his house. They're like, oh, cool. Like, we're part of the crew. We're part of the coach's friend group. They were there to park cars. They got to the party, and Brian Kelly said, yeah, you two are valeting. That's his GAs. They're there to coach football, Brian, not be your valets. Yeah, Brian Kelly, he's on my list. Also, a submission for college sports from my wife, Pat Chun, who was previously the athletic director at Washington State, left for Washington. After they had left WSU to die, he then left for their biggest rival. So, yeah, Pat Chun, you are one of our turkeys of the year.
I've got another one in college football.
Do it.
The Pac-2.
Interesting. Okay.
Just like seeing that this weekend.
Yeah.
Right? Like just
the Pac-2 championship game?
Yes. It was a regular season game, right? It was the matchup in the season for them. Like, it's just, come on. Just
I would nominate realignment as a whole.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. That works.
What happened to the game I love?
Yeah.
What happened to the sports that I love? They're not in great shape. Let's be frank about that. They're not in super good shape right now. Should we get to a little baseball as well?
Yeah.
We have a couple here. This is another one from our guy Jayhawker. Jazz Chisholm. This one was entered, I think, earlier today from someone else on the YouTube comments as well. Jazz Chisholm loves to run his mouth. And then what happened in the World Series? They got their butts kicked.
Yeah.
They got destroyed. So Jazz Chisholm on there for baseball. I also put down, where is it? Oh, yes, Rob Manfred. Reasoning is just because. Rob Manfred hates baseball. How can you be the commissioner of baseball and hate baseball? That's a question that I have had ever since he got the job.
I've got two.
All right.
John Fisher.
Yep, I have. We had that one as a listener entry as well. Yeah.
I have the entirety of the 2024 White Sox.
Yep, we had. Oh, we both had that one too. Yeah, he's the White Sox is just that's the group turkey of the year. The gaggle, the multitude of turkeys of the year. That's the Chicago White Sox without question. What an embarrassing year. That, to me, given all the like guys full time are baseball players now. They have training staffs, they have dietitians, they have all this stuff. For my money, that's the worst team of all time.
Yep.
Is the 2024 Chicago White Sox. I think that covers it for baseball for me. I had one more from college sports we didn't get to. We had an entry for student sections who rushed the field early. I would change that up. Although Arizona State, I think you guys have to count as turkeys of the year after what happened. Oklahoma as well. Y'all, get off the field. Wait till it hits 000. It's not that hard. Fans who throw trash on the field. Kirk Herbstreit called them clowns. He's correct. Absolutely correct. Don't throw crap on the field or on the court or anywhere else. It's not okay. The referees in Georgia versus Texas who allowed that to happen and changed their mind to that whole debacle. Yeah, y'all also turkeys of the year. Absolutely on the list. A couple real quick from the Olympics. We had a bunch of Olympic submissions. We only have time to get a couple of these in real quick. Number one, Ray Gunn, the professor of, I don't even remember what she was a professor of breakdancing in Australia.
So,
she was competing for Team Australia in the first ever breakdancing competition and just became a meme and then was upset that people made fun of her for having the worst breakdance performance of all time. Ray Gunn is on the list. Also, Spencer, what do you know about Anthony Ammirati?
Don't.
Does that name ring a bell to you? He is a French pole vaulter.
Yes.
And
You
it was not
vaulter.
just the pole he was running with that got him in trouble at the Olympics, because he was kept from qualifying for the final round of the men's pole vault because he ran his junk into the bar and it knocked the bar off its bearings. His poll cost him in the pole vault. Anthony Ammirati, Turkey of the Year. We've got a couple other nominees here in from the YouTube comments. One from Paul. He goes with Sports Turkey of the Year for Angel Reese. Interesting. Yeah, Angel Reese runs her mouth a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think there is like a weird dynamic about the discourse of the WNBA right now, and I think there are valid points to it. That being said, I think people rag on Angel Reese more because she shot like 27% from the floor as opposed to anything else. Like, talented player, but you gotta actually make some layups. I'm getting a Turkey of the Year nomination because I thought a group of turkeys was a gaggle. It's actually called a rafter, according to Vance. So
I did not know that.
You learn something new every day. Vance, thank you for that. Jeffrey nominates Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that's tough. He's my favorite player of all time, but yeah, he's got to be one.
Can I also nominate the entire Jets organization?
Absolutely.
Front office and
absolutely
ownership?
Yeah. They would probably win this if not for the White Sox for the group award.
Yeah, because I mean, like, was it Woody Johnson that flew his helicopter in and fired the GM last week?
Yes.
And stop bringing him up from practice?
Yes. Dropped onto the practice field to fire his GM, Joe Douglas. Yeah. Jets are the runners up for the group award after the Rafter Award. Thank you, Vance. Over the Chicago White Sox. Those are our sports turkeys of the year. Thank you guys for participating. A lot of crowdsourcing for that one. Appreciate you throwing out some of your nominees. That was a lot of fun as we get ready for Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. We've got to get ready for What Is Wrong With You. Our September, what the hell? Our November semifinals are coming up next for What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. time of the month, the semifinals in What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan, that's Spencer. We've also got Dan's votes in the can in case we are needing a tiebreaker vote. We've got 4 stories, 2 head-to-head matchups that will determine our finalists for tomorrow's edition of What Is Wrong With You, which will be our November finals. Spencer, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's get it on. All right, our first story, it is the bogus Boston Botox. The owner of a South Shore spa is accused of injecting clients with counterfeit Botox. The owner of 2 different spas is accused of earning nearly $1 million using counterfeit Botox and fillers. Rebecca Fatinelli, 38 years old, is charged with 1 count of illegally importing merchandise contrary to law, a count of selling or dispensing counterfeit drugs, and a count of selling or dispensing a counterfeit device. She owns the Skin Butte Med Spa. She essentially bought this Botox from AliExpress, which is where you can buy knockoff like NBA jerseys.
Yeah.
It's where I have bought knockoff NBA jerseys. Yeah, from online marketplace Alibaba. They charge $50 a vial. An authentic vial is $650. You got Chinese knockoff Botox, folks. I would have sued her to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
That is the bogus Boston Botox. Then we also have the cheese thief. A man in his 60s is being accused of stealing more than 950 wheels of cheese. This is coming from over in the UK. A Metropolitan Police spokesman said on October 21st, police received a report of the theft of a large quantity of cheese from a manufacturer based in Southwark. Investigating officers have since arrested a 63-year-old man on suspicion of fraud by false representation and handling of stolen goods. The man stole 950 wheels of cheese. What could you possibly need all that cheese for?
I don't know. It's going to get moldy and go bad.
Right. You're going to get blue cheese real quick. All right, so who you got in our first semifinal? Do we go with the bogus Boston Botox or the cheese thief?
I think you got to go with the bogus Boston Botox because you're not only like screwing up, like you're making money knowingly screwing up somebody else's life, but you're also screwing up these people's lives and they have no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Nope, I am right there with you. I've got the same pick. That is that's my winner for that one as well. Dan also was on that, so it's a sweep for bogus Boston Botox. Then we've got Banned for Life from Ulta Beauty. The guy who put a bunch of marker all over his face and tried to do some Christ-like imagery, crown of thorns, all that, had some old Latin inscribed on his forehead as well. He went to an Ulta Beauty and yelled at some employees saying, quote, "I'm going to blow this bleep up." He was then arrested shortly thereafter. It is not clear as to why he had scribbles all over his face or why he wanted to blow up the Ulta. We also have the Junk Jiggler from the Villages in Florida. A villager's son has been sentenced for jiggling his genitals at the entrance to the UF Health, the hospital in the Villages. 52-year-old Darren Malinsky pleaded no contest this week in Sumter County Court to a charge of exposure of sexual organs. He spent 19 days in jail with credit for 19 days already. This is gross.
Yeah.
This is nasty. Yeah, man, I'm going with Banned for Life from Ulta Beauty.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You can't try to blow up the makeup store guy.
Nope.
Not something you can get away with. So those are then our 2 finalists for tomorrow in What Is Wrong With You. Also, What Is Wrong With You for me because I left the music interstitial on the YouTube feed. That's okay. It happens sometimes. My apologies. The intern responsible has been fired. So our 2 finalists for tomorrow, the bogus Boston Botox and Banned from Ulta Beauty for Life, our 2 finalists in What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk.
Lawrence, Kansas tonight.
It's Jayhawk Weekly time here on 580 Sports Talk, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour on a Tuesday afternoon, and we are joined by Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Make sure you're a VIP. That is where you can get all the best inside information into what's going on with KU before anybody else. Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time. You can also find his work via Twitter at mswain247 and Blue Sky as well these days. Michael, it's been a pretty good couple of weeks for this KU program, or at whole athletic department, really. Basketball still number one with a big game tonight. Football keeps winning, and amazingly, we'll start with the football team on a night when KU plays Duke. But right now, is this the best team in the conference, at least the quality of play in the last few weeks?
Man, KU sure looks like it. KU sure looks like it. And it's so interesting when you think back to that KU at Arizona State game, how close that was. And there's different worlds, right, in this call in the Big 12, right? You can probably say this for a lot of teams, but there's a world in which that's the game that is helping decide the Big 12 title game this week, right? And I think KU is just playing at such a high level, and they are looking like the team that I think everyone expected going into the year. And finally, some of those big-time kind of high-leverage plays are going KU's way, but they are also carving out a huge margin for error with the way the offense has been playing, and just getting some of those kind of key defensive stops at key times. And the Colorado game showed it, BYU showed it, and Iowa State showed it. You know, this is a team that is really clicking on all cylinders. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time, I'm trying to think back right now, like the last time that there was a huge mistake where you're just like heading, like you're slapping your forehead, like what the heck was that, right? How many times were those moments popping up early in the season? And it feels like those have kind of gone away, and KU's played some really clean football start to finish.
How good has Devin Neal been? I mean, we all watched the game. We know, like, wow, he put up crazy numbers. He was the best player on the field in a game that also included Travis Hunter. But when you look at what he has done this season, and to have it hopefully not be completely over after senior day, but to have it culminate with a game like that on that stage, bowl hopes on the line. I mean, what more is there to say about what this guy has, A, meant to KU, and B, how good he has been throughout this season?
Yeah, there's really not much else that can be said. I think for someone like myself, right, you look at the workload Devin took on, and it is just so much more than he has taken on in his Kansas career. You know, he's never really been a guy that's gotten 25 plus carries or touches in a game in his KU career, right? Those games have been really important ones. You think about Oklahoma State when he has the 200, 100 game, and you think about this one on Saturday. He does, you know, KU kind of saves these high usage games for really big moments. And Devin has certainly met that call when he's gotten it. You can think back to, you know, you go from the Colorado game on senior day, you go back to the K-State game and the last home game at the old booth. You go to that Oklahoma State game to get KU to bowl eligibility, right? There's so many games where there are positive memories for KU, and I know the K-State game last year wasn't a positive memory, but it is a game that I think showed that when you need Devin Neal, he will be there and he will answer the bell. And obviously, he will be remembered for some of the performances, but I think the impact that he's had on the program too. You listen to Lance Leipold talk about him, Travis Goff. He is someone that I think has signaled kind of the direction of the Kansas program. And it is interesting now that we are going to get into a time frame where it's going to be a new generation now, where you have had kind of these 4 or 5 years where it's been Devin Neal and Jalen Daniels. And now you're kind of getting close to where, you know, maybe there's 1 year next year where Jalen comes back, but Devin really signifies the return of Kansas football to being just a competitive football program and one that can go out and win big games. And he's been a guy that has really shown up in so many of those big games. And I think that can't go unnoticed, right? He is not a stats compiler doing it against FCS teams or G5 teams or bottom of the barrel Big 12 teams. He is someone that when his best has been needed, he's given it. I think that's just truly what makes him such a special football player.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. He joins us every single Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. So in this game against Colorado this past weekend, Michael, one of the things that really helped KU is they just didn't let Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders and the rest of that high-powered offense play or participate in the game. I mean, KU completely dominated in time of possession, and that then forces your opponent, Colorado, they have to be perfect essentially when their offense is out on the field, and they clearly were not in that game. So when we take that kind of theme from last week and we use it to look ahead to this game against Baylor coming up in Waco on Saturday morning, do you feel like this similar kind of strategy would be helpful for KU to try to keep Sawyer Robertson off the field as much as possible?
I think so. And I think that for KU, it's just different, right? Colorado is such a specific type of team that, and I know Robertson's had a great season since he's been the starter, but it's not Shedeur Sanders. Like, I was really impressed with Shedeur and what he was able to do against KU. I think you've got to find a happy balance, because asking your team to go out and I think have that same physical level is going to be very hard, because let's think back, right? So KU comes off the bye week, plays Iowa State. They win that game somewhat comfortably, right? But then you go on the road and play BYU at night, and then you return home. And thank God for Warren Sapp's comments, because KU had some extra juice in the tank because of him, in a situation that I think it would have been very hard to have that juice if you were playing Baylor that game. And this week is Colorado, for example. So I am really interested to see what KU can do physically, because it has been a grueling kind of last couple weeks, and especially for the offense, how can they go out and do it? And can Logan Brown play, or is it Calvin Clement starting at left tackle? I think theoretically, right, you'd like to say, yeah, sure, go and have the ball for 40 minutes in Waco. That's also a little easier said than done. And Dave Aranda is a really good defensive head coach. I know the Baylor defense hasn't been super great this year, but I think it's been solid with Aranda calling the plays. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to have the same type of game plan where you just run all over Baylor like you were Colorado.
There's obviously a lot on the line here. And for this KU team, obviously, if you had said start of the year, well, you're just going to get bowl eligibility, that would have felt like a major disappointment. But then given where the first half of the season went, it's a major accomplishment for KU to get bowl eligibility. So that being said, is KU going to get it done? Can they get up for another game in a row and pick up a fourth consecutive win to get to a bowl game?
Oh, I'd like to say yes. And I think I might eventually say yes by the end of the week. But here on Tuesday afternoon, I have some reservations. Just it's been a lot the last couple weeks, and 11 a.m. kicks have not necessarily been super kind to Kansas, especially on the road over the last couple of years. And that does give me some pause. Now, can KU win this game? 100%. They're playing at a really high level, and I think Baylor is a team that is playing at a really high level as well. And so I'm expecting another really close game. I think for KU, it's going to come down to defensively, can you kind of have a similar game against Colorado where you don't need to stop them every time, but can you get yourself kind of 2 stops in the first half, maybe 2 in the second half, and that'll be enough, I think, to win the game. But this Baylor offense, it's no joke, and I think it's going to be a really tough task. So a roundabout answer to your question, right now on Tuesday, I don't have a great feeling about it, but by the time I kind of look a lot more into this stuff, by the time Friday comes around, I might have a different answer for you.
Michael, I respect your journalistic integrity so much, but as a fan and an alumnus, I am going to make it, say it's my right to cut up this tape and then put it all together so it says Michael Swain says, yes, KU is for sure going to a bowl game. For my own sanity, I'm going to put that all together. We're chatting with Michael Swain. He's the best of the best when it comes to covering KU over at fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Make sure you're a VIP over there. He does incredible work getting all the insight on KU football and recruiting, KU basketball, and KU basketball recruiting as well. Let's flip over to the hardwood, Michael, because it is a huge game coming up tonight in Las Vegas. KU versus Duke, a top 15 matchup. Duke is favored despite being the lower-ranked team in this one. And I've kind of gone back and forth on what I think needs to be the strategy for KU to come out of this one with a win. And I think it comes down to the easiest option here. Does it just simply come down to contain Cooper Flagg as much as possible and KU wins this game?
I honestly don't know, because this Duke team is so talented that I think if you told me going into the game, I don't think this Cooper Flagg point total is going to be what determines this game, honestly. I think for KU, it's going to come down to a couple of things. Can KU make threes? Because KU's not a team that's getting a lot of extra possessions right now. And Duke is a team with their size. They do such a great job of cleaning up on the glass that if you don't make threes, they do such a good job of, I think, limiting you to one shot. And for themselves, I think getting some decent shots on the other end of the floor. It's going to be tough. And I think KJ Adams has probably his toughest test that he's had as a KU basketball player, right? You're guarding basically what's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft, and a guy who many consider to be a generational talent. And, granted, if Cooper Fly goes for 40, yeah, of course. But, Cooper Fly going for 15 versus 25, I'm not really sure how much that changes things. I think for KU, it's going to be much more about the team effort. Can someone like Hunter Dickinson win his matchup against Moloch at center? At the guard spots, right? Can Zeke Mayo create against better athletes, more physical players? Because this Duke team ranks number 1 in the country in average height. And I think it's at their average height on the team is 6'7", a little bit over 6'7". Their starting backcourt is both 2 6'5" guards. This is a team that's going to pose some really big issues for KU with their size. And I think KU's just going to have a really, really clean top to bottom game, whether that be shooting, taking care of the basketball, and then if they can, try and do as best they can on the glass.
Number 1 bus team in America, the team that walks off the bus and you say, whoa, those dudes have to be good because they're that big. Yeah, that's Duke easily. So I then look, because that size, that length, that obviously helps defensively as well. And at least according to Ken Pom going into tonight, Duke's the number 1 defensive team in adjusted defense in the country. So with that in mind, who do you think on the offensive side of things for KU really has to be at their best? My mind immediately goes to a guy like AJ Storr, who I know is still figuring things out, but we also know from his first 2 years of college basketball, his good and his great offensively can legitimately be great. So I feel like he needs to get to that point. Where do you look in terms of guys who have to be good offensively in this matchup?
Yeah, I think it's really the key 3 transfers. I look at Zeke. He has been solid, I think, against Michigan State and North Carolina. Obviously, a little rocky against Arkansas, but you got to give him benefit of the doubt, right? First kind of game for Kansas against a team like that. So I look at Zeke. Can he continue to knock down threes? Can he create off the bounce, or is he going to be someone that is deferring more because he can't get those driving lanes? That's going to be really important. That's something that's going to be indicative of this season, because I think Zeke's going to have to prove that he can do it consistently against some of the better guards in the country. Not saying he can't, but that's just something that I think over the course of the season, he's going to have to show. I look at Rylan Griffin. Can he, when he gets those opportunities to catch and shoot from 3, whether it be from the corner or from the wing, can he have a game where maybe, does he go 4 of 7? Can he give you a 3 of 5 type of game from 3? And then I look at AJ. Can you stay on the floor? Can you stay in front of your man? Can you at least give some effort on the glass? Because if he does that, he's the type of player that I think you saw against Carolina. When the lights go on, he's the type of guy that has that extra juice. And that, I think, is sometimes what is missing from his game when you look at some of the other times when he struggled against a Howard, or against a UNCW. He has to be a guy that plays with energy. And against Duke in Las Vegas, I think is a time when you're going to see guys go for it because they know the nation is watching. So I really do think this is a game tonight that really does come down to those 3, because at this point in time, you know what you're getting from DeJuan, you know what you're getting from KJ, like it or not, and you know what you're getting from Hunter Dickinson. And to be frank, you know what you're getting with Flory. He's going to provide some athleticism. He's going to give you some lob threat, some rim protection. But that's kind of it. And so I think it's really going to come down to those 3 guys who I think at this point in time have a little bit more variance in their performance, because they are still adapting and still kind of getting used to everything that it takes to be a Bill Self basketball player. So I think those 3 guys are really the key players tonight.
All right, Michael, who you got? KU versus Duke. The Dukies are favored. Some places have it as little as 2.5. I've seen over the course of the last couple of days as big as 4. Who you got in this one?
I think I'm going to roll with KU because they've had Duke's number broadly, but I think this is also a game where you're going to see some guys play up to their ceiling. It's just an intangible game for me. And you look at what Bill Self has done in these early season games, I think it gets overlooked sometimes. KU's played really, really tough schedules the last couple years, and very, very frequently KU's going into conference play with 1 maybe 2 losses overall. And of course, everyone freaks out when those losses happen. But I think this is the type of game where, KU just tends to figure it out. And this is a more veteran team against a super young team. I know Proctor's on the older side now, but I think this is the type of game where some of that experience in these big games can help. So I'm going to pick intangibles, I think, over maybe that on-paper talent in this one.
All right, last thing I've got for you, Michael. What's on the table at Thanksgiving dinner this week?
Oh, shoot. Genuinely, guys, I don't even know. That's something where my fiance and we are in charge of pies. So, I did so much helping with this, guys. I came back home and I wrapped stuff up and I put it in the freezer. That's how much work I'm putting in here, guys. Really carrying the load for our little couple here. So we're in charge of pies. Got a pumpkin pie and an apple crumble. Other sides of the family are in charge of other things, and I'm going to be just surprised when I sit down and see it's going to be probably turkey, some stuffing, and some really good vegetables.
Man, if my wife is listening right now, I know she is just nodding her head. Yep, I know the feeling. I know exactly what that is like. Michael Swain covers Kansas athletics for Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Guys, I am not kidding. The best coverage of KU comes from Michael Swain and Fog.net. Go be a VIP at 24/7 for all the best insight into what's going on in Lawrence. You can also find Michael across social media, including both Twitter and over on Blue Sky. Michael, we appreciate the time as always, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully after a couple of KU wins.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'll talk to you next week, and happy Thanksgiving.
That's Michael Swain. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net. Joins us every week here for Jayhawk Weekly. Now we have to get to a commercial break. We'll come on back, put a bow on this 4 o'clock hour, get you ready for Mitch Holthus and the 5 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW. A quick update from the Maui Invitational. UConn lost again. Yeah, Danny Hurley's Huskies. He threw a tantrum again, by the way. You probably can bet on that at this point. How many tantrums will Danny Hurley throw during a basketball game featuring UConn? But no, UConn lost by 1 to Colorado. Tad Boyle. Look at Tad go. The Buffs, who beat Northern Colorado by 2 points in double overtime, just beat UConn at the Maui Invitational in regulation. That's what's special about the Maui Invitational, which is the best tournament. It's the best tournament in America next to the NCAA tournament. Big 12 tournament's close. I also grew up loving the Big 10 tournament, growing up in Big 10 country. Big 10 tournament is special. But, man, there's nothing quite like the Maui Invitational. UConn losing twice and now playing in the last place game is actually so awesome. And for Colorado, of all teams, Memphis is one thing. Colorado lost a lot of talent, like multiple NBA players of talent, and should probably be one of the worst teams in the Big 12 this year. And they just got UConn. That's pretty dang impressive. Fun stuff out on the islands. We've got 1 hour of 580 Sports Talk left. Some headlines. Mitch Holthus is going to join us. We'll get to your texts, your YouTube comments as well. All of it's coming up after the news back here on 580 Sports Talk. go. Final hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. I'm Brendan Dworzinski flying solo with you the rest of the day today. Spencer is out. Appreciate him swinging by for the 4 o'clock hour. Dan Lucero is off the rest of the week, which is actually just tomorrow. We're all off on Thursday and Friday. We're taking Thanksgiving, the holiday off. I know some of you probably hoping, oh my God, we need to get away from the family. We need to get away from the kids, from the parents, the spouses, whatever. I want to hear some 580 Sports Talk, especially because nobody wants to watch Tommy Cutlets versus Cooper Rush in the afternoon game of the NFL slate. But unfortunately, for you guys, we will also be taking the holiday off on Thanksgiving. We're also off Black Friday, so we'll have the show tomorrow following K-State women's basketball. The K-State women are in action. 1 o'clock tip-off from Vegas at the Ball Dogs Classic or Invitational, whatever the hell it's called. They will play at 1 o'clock. When they're done and their postgame is over, we will join you for 580 Sports Talk from that point forward tomorrow. So we are looking forward to that, joining you tomorrow to get you ready for the long football weekend, the Thanksgiving holiday, and all of that. So I'll be here with you tomorrow. Spencer will probably stop by for our What Is Wrong With You championship as well. Dan is off tomorrow as well. He is on his Thanksgiving vacation. Here in this 5 o'clock hour of the show, we've got some headlines to get to here in just a moment. Today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, some good juicy ones today. We'll also be joined by Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to your texts on the text line, 785-272-9429. We'll also get to your YouTube comments as well. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. 676 subscribers. It would be sick if we could get to 700. I'm not expecting to get there today, although it'd be awesome if we could. I'm just sort of expecting that either I'll come back after paternity leave and we'll put together a drive and we'll get up to 700 at the start of the new year. Or, per usual, when I am gone for a prolonged period of time, Dana and Spencer are just going to rack up a ton of viewers, and I'm going to feel like, wow, I'm the least popular or maybe just least attractive, least pleasant to look at on the crew. But nonetheless, if you haven't subscribed, go check out the YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel and is the easiest way to find us just by searching the name of the show over on YouTube. We had a text from the 785 during last hour. Thankfully, Spencer came in. All BD is too much BD. Frankly, I agree. It is very easy to get too much of me. My parents, my family, my friends, everyone would tell you that. Too much, Brendan. Get out of here. Go do something else. Go find something better to do with your time. Unfortunately for you, they pay me to do this. So I'm here with you till the end of the 6 o'clock hour, end of the 5 o'clock hour. If I could tell time, it'd be even easier. But so be it. Here's where we are. We'll get to Mitch here in just a little bit. But first things first, why don't we get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines? We've got a bevy of them to get to, and we will start hyper-local. The big news of the day for football in the capital city. Washburn University has its new head football coach, and it's Zach Watkins, one of the best defensive players to ever come through the Washburn Ichabod's football program and to come through Yager Stadium. He is the new head coach of the program, has spent 11 years on the coaching staff here at Washburn. He has spent the last several as the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, also working with defensive backs. And now, after being named the interim head coach after Craig Schurig was removed from his post as the head coach at Washburn, it is now Zach Watkins having the interim tag removed. He is the new head coach of Washburn football. In a statement released by the university, athletic director Lauren Foray of Washburn said today, quote, Coach Watkins has a detailed plan to power the program forward. While the position attracted a lot of interest from other coaching candidates, we are confident the best candidate is already on our sideline. Zach brings a deep understanding of what it takes to win in the MIAA and is hitting the ground running. Having earned the respect and support of his players as well as other coaches in the conference, Zach is well prepared to take this program to the next level and to keep it there. Also, a comment from Washburn president Julianne Mazachek, who says, quote, Coach Watkins is deeply committed to Washburn University and the Ichabod football program, striving to compete for championships each and every season. I have full confidence in Zach's leadership abilities and his vision for the future. His strong relationships with current players, as well as connections to incoming recruits, will help to ensure we retain our talent and grow this program into a national Division II powerhouse. As for Coach Watkins himself, he had a comment today, said, quote, I would like to thank President Mazachek and Athletic Director Foray for this incredible opportunity. I am humbled and excited to be chosen to lead the outstanding young men in this football program. Washburn helped shape me into the man I am today, and I am grateful to pay that forward in the lives of our student athletes. So I obviously have a close connection to the Washburn football program, being the voice of Washburn sports for our station group and over on our sister station, Country 106.9. And I will say this, having only been with the football program 1 year, currently on year 2 for me with basketball teams, but I am so excited for Coach Watkins, and I am so excited for the direction of Washburn football. I know that he has been ready for this whenever the moment came, wherever it came, and I am glad that he is going to be at Washburn for the long haul. I know he is going to have success. I know he's got a great connection with those players, with the guys on the sideline, with the people at Washburn, everybody in the athletics department from the top on down. I could not be more excited for Coach Watkins. I'm looking forward to getting to work with him more. We will hear from him coming up tomorrow here on 580 Sports Talk. He's got his introductory press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. We do expect to be able to get some of that audio. We'll play it for you tomorrow at some point during the show because it obviously is a big deal after 23 years with Coach Schurig, who was just phenomenal to this community, to the city of Topeka, to Washburn football, to Washburn as a whole. Zach taking over is awesome for the school. And I'm super, super happy for Zach, super happy for Washburn football. And a new era is dawning, and I think it's going to be a really, really good one and a really successful one. And it's going to build on all the greatness and the great years that Coach Schurig put together at Washburn. So very happy for Zach. That is headline number 1 for us today, the new head football coach for Washburn University. All right. Let's get to some other football notes. We've actually got a lot of football today. Let's get to a few from the NFL. The Chiefs injury notes from earlier today, there were a bunch of them, mostly low-level roster guys, but one significant note, Matthew Wright, who previously played for the Kansas City Chiefs, filling in for an injured Harrison Butker a couple seasons ago, he has been signed to the practice squad. Why is that? Because Spencer Schrader, who was signed last week and ended up kicking for the Chiefs, he got hurt on Monday, yesterday, in a private workout. He hurt his hamstring. So who knows what his situation is going to be this weekend. He was a DNP, did not practice today. Obviously, the Chiefs moved up their injury reporting dates because, well, they play on Friday. So instead of having the usual Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday reports, they moved everything up a couple of days. So we had an injury report today. It's all walkthrough, but Spencer Schrader not able to go. Matthew Wright on the practice squad. Would not be surprised if he ends up getting elevated for the game coming up on Friday against the Raiders. Speaking of the Raiders, they have made their quarterback decision. It is going to be Aiden O'Connell over Desmond Ridder. The Raiders acquired Desmond Ridder a little bit earlier on this season. He will be in the backup role, we assume. Gardner Minshew is out for the year. He broke his collarbone this past weekend against the Broncos. Tough news for Minshew Mania, but AOC, that's Aiden O'Connell, is going to get the start for the Raiders. I think the Chiefs are going to tee off on him. I'd said that a little bit earlier on in the show today. This, to me, is a vibes game for the Chiefs. This is an opportunity for Kansas City to put last week's disappointment behind them and to say, you know what? After all the talk and all the chatter and the memes and the jokes at our expense, after we barely beat Carolina on the road, it was a road game technically because we had to stay in a hotel, but the crowd was chock full of Chiefs fans. We want to remind the NFL that we are the top dog. We are the team to beat. We are the team that has won back-to-back Super Bowl championships. And I think the Chiefs are going to get that done this weekend against the Raiders. It's a rivalry game. We know there's hatred. Mitch Holthus is going to join us in a little bit to talk about that. I like the Chiefs, and I like the Chiefs big. I haven't even checked the spread of this game. Whatever it is, I would jump on the Chiefs in a heartbeat. In fact, I'll even pull it up right now because I'm not 100% sure. Chiefs by a touchdown, 6.5. Is it something like that? I'll feel really dumb if I'm way off on that. The Chiefs, yeah, I'm way off. 12.5. The Chiefs at home at Arrowhead on Black Friday are favored by 12.5 points over the Raiders. That's a gigantic number, even for the Chiefs. I still might take that. I just think this is going to be a beatdown game. Sorry, Aiden O'Connell, but I feel like you might be a sacrificial lamb in this contest. Let's get to some other notes from the NFL today, shall we? A former Kansas City Chiefs in some trouble with the law. Rams wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson was arrested under suspicion of driving under the influence. This was yesterday morning at 5:13, the writing from Sarah Barshop of ESPN. Robinson was observed driving more than 100 miles an hour on US 101 northbound and was arrested at 5:13 a.m. Monday morning in Woodland Hills, California. The arrest came hours after he caught a touchdown pass and the Rams lost to the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. According to a news release, officers assigned to that area observed a white Dodge sedan traveling more than 100 miles an hour. The release said officers observed objective signs and symptoms of alcohol impairment. He was cited and released to a responsible party. Sean McVay said earlier today that the Rams are still gathering information and they have not yet decided if Robinson is going to play this weekend. I have made my stance on driving under the influence, drunk driving, and any sort of impaired driving, reckless driving, very clear on this show before. You are putting other lives at risk. You are making a selfish choice, and you should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law if you are going to drive drunk. 100 miles an hour while under the influence can kill someone. And much slower than that under the influence can kill someone. It is selfish. It is stupid. And I hope that Demarcus Robinson is severely punished for this. I'm not going to get too far into my belief that I don't think we punish those things severely enough in our country, but you are way too smart and you are way too affluent, Demarcus Robinson, to do something this dumb. Don't drink and drive. It's stupid. He deserves to be punished severely, both by the Rams, and frankly, the NFL should do something as well about that. Also from the NFL today, we joked about this a little bit during our Turkeys of the Year. Both Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy ended up on our list of Turkeys of the Year. Well, how about this from Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, earlier today on his radio show on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas? Said he's not ruling out a contract extension for Mike McCarthy. You've got to be kidding me. He said this, quote, "I don't think that's crazy at all. This is a Super Bowl winning coach. Mike McCarthy has been there and done that. He has great ideas. We got a lot of football left." Dog, there's no way. I think McCarthy is in the last year of a contract. I don't believe he has any more time on it. Like, I don't think he's got, 2 more years. They might have to buy out or pay out to him or anything like that. I think that he's just a lame duck coach. That's my understanding of the situation. They can't give him a new contract, man. I don't even know what the angle is for Jerry Jones here to say that he's going to do this. I'm just not sure what the benefit is of saying this publicly. Try to motivate Mike McCarthy and make him feel more comfortable and looser and freer going into this weekend. I really don't know. I don't know what the point of it is. Maybe it just comes down to trying to throw the radio hosts who Jerry Jones has already made angry this year, throw them off the scent of what's actually happening. I have no idea, but this is ludicrous. I have nothing against Mike McCarthy as a man. I know for a fact, because I've heard from so many people, from the Packers who have said he's a great guy. They love Big Mike. Things ran their course, but it is what it is. I think he's a good dude. Got Kansas ties. He went to Baker. His daughter went to KU. But you can't keep him. You absolutely, under no circumstances, can keep that guy in Dallas. There's no way. Who wants to take that job, though? We'll see. I know the YouTube commenters were talking about Bill Belichick as a name down there. There have been some other names floated about. I just can't imagine a coach with a gigantic ego wanting to then go work for Jerry Jones, who may have America's biggest ego. I have a hard time seeing it, but again, I don't think I have an ego that big. Of course, I have something of one. I don't think it's big, but I work in the media. Of course, there's a little bit of one. Nothing compared to Bill Belichick, and I don't think Bill Belichick is anything compared to Jerry Jones. So best of luck to you, Cowboys. Good luck. Also from the NFL, this is a wild story coming out of Austin, Texas. Baker Mayfield, who's from Austin, but currently plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he has filed suit, or at least his attorneys have filed suit against a business owned by his own dad. Attorneys for Baker Mayfield filed suit in U.S. District Court on November 22nd. The lawsuit alleges that Camwood Capital Management Group and its subsidiaries failed to fulfill their end of a settlement agreement, which outlined a repayment plan of more than $12 million to Baker Mayfield. His father, James, owns Camwood, and his brother, Matt, also has a stake in the company. Baker's wife, Emily, and the couple's company, Team BRM, are also listed as plaintiffs in the lawsuit. So essentially, it comes down to this. Mayfield gave some unsecured money to his dad and brother's business that they were supposed to invest. Instead, they did not invest any of that. They used that for other business expenses. They stole $12 million, it roughly was, off of Baker's first contract, used it for payroll and other business expenses, exactly not what they were given the money for. So Baker Mayfield sued them previously, and there was a settlement, and they were agreed upon that they were going to get certain amounts of money paid back over a certain amount of time. That's how settlements and payouts like that work. Nothing was ever paid. The first repayment of roughly $11.7 million plus interest beginning in September 2024 was never paid. No conditions of that repayment were ever met. The lawyers for Baker Mayfield say, quote, to date, Camwood Capital has not repaid even $1 under the settlement agreement. Defendants have failed to refinance their existing loan, and the defendants have not provided plaintiffs with access to their books or records. As a result, plaintiffs have been left with no choice but to file suit for breach of settlement agreement to recover assets improperly taken from them. Screwing over your own family sucks. That's just a crappy thing to do. And mooching off of your millionaire kid for your failed business sucks. That's gross. Go look up Jack Johnson, NHL player, if you want an absolutely miserable story about parents trying to screw over their rich athlete kid. Do the same for Philip Buchanan, who as soon as he got drafted into the NFL, his mom started hounding him for money, saying she was owed millions for raising him. It's your job as a parent. This stuff is gross. I hope Baker gets all his money back. This is just so gross. Vance on YouTube says that'll make for an interesting Thanksgiving. Yeah, to say the least. I'm going to guess that the Mayfields are probably not going to go hang out with mom and pop anytime soon, or brother for that matter. One other headline I wanted to get to today, Mack Brown at North Carolina, their head football coach. He is out of a job. Bubba Cunningham, the director of athletics at UNC, announced officially today that Mack Brown will be out following this season. He is going to coach against North Carolina State coming up this weekend. That is the final game for UNC. I believe it's senior day for UNC as well. It is. They're 6-5, so they are bowl eligible. However, Cunningham said it is not known yet, or they have not decided yet, if Mack Brown would coach in a bowl game. He is the winningest coach in UNC history, but I heard a stat today I could not believe. Mack Brown has been a head coach for 40 years. He has 2 conference titles. That is one of the most outrageous stats I've ever heard. Like, couldn't luck into another one? I know he's got a national championship, the Vince Young Texas team, but oh my gosh. 40 years, 2 conference titles? You didn't just get lucky with a bad league one year? A couple fluky kicks or something? That's hard to believe. Mack Brown, great career, but I think it is over for him. It's clearly over in Chapel Hill. It's over for 580 Sports Talk headlines today, but we've got plenty of show left, including the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He's going to join us on the other side of this timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us a couple of days earlier than normal here on 580 Sports Talk because of the Thanksgiving holiday coming up on Thursday. The Chiefs also playing earlier this week. They've got the Black Friday game. We are now joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, here on 580 Sports Talk. Mitch's appearances here on the program are brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. And Mitch, a couple of fitting little bumpers there coming into the show. We got to hear your call of that big game-winning kick against Carolina, and then our bump music, song called Take the Power Back by Rage Against the Machine. Kind of feel like the Chiefs, a little glum after that game against Carolina, feel like they're going to want to take the power back a little bit this weekend for Raider Week.
Yeah, great bump back music. And honestly, yeah, and I think it's necessary to kind of get a little bit of a swag on Friday. I'm going to give you some stats about these one possession wins, but it was a sense of, it almost felt like they lost the game after the contest Sunday in Charlotte. And that's why I think Coach Reed said what he said, which is, hey man, get your heads up. We got a lot to fix. We're going to fix them. But I also spent the minute with Mitch this week on Channel 13 and with you guys saying that after 2021, and the league went to 7 teams in each conference for the playoffs and only one bye, the old adage or cliche, well, that wasn't a bad loss, that doesn't occur anymore. There are no such things anymore in the NFL as a good loss. Or similarly, there's no bad wins. So take it and run. The Chiefs are 10-1, still in the 1 seed, and they could have lost that game. Call Mike Tomlin, see how he feels after losing in the snow on Thursday night to the Cleveland Browns, or, give D'Amico Ryans a call as Houston loses to Tennessee. Those were miserable losses. We've had them. We had them last year. So far this year, we don't have them. Just one, and that's we got outplayed or beat by Josh Allen.
The positive for the Chiefs in this game, aside from, actually winning the game, because I'm with you, Mitch, you never, ever, ever apologize for wins in the NFL. My biggest takeaway positively, Patrick Mahomes looked awesome. He was absolutely fantastic. You want to look at the, the football card stats. You want to look at the team numbers in the passing game. You want to look at the advanced metrics, the EPA, the things like that. That was, I think, one of his best games of the entire year. And it felt like he was able to push the ball downfield a little bit more, at least anecdotally speaking. How did you feel about Patrick's performance? Because I thought he was absolutely sublime in that game.
We take him for granted because what he did in that game was in many ways masterful. One of the nuggets I was going to give you tonight, these aren't the great ones I told you I was going to give you, but this is a good one because people haven't talked about it. His quarterback rating in the first quarter is 33rd in the NFL of 35 qualified quarterbacks. But in the fourth quarter, he has a 108.4 quarterback rating with 5 touchdowns and just 1 pick, and that was the interception late against the Buffalo Bills. I thought he was, in many ways, just terrific. And, again, to be resourceful, yeah, they were able to hit guys down the field. 9 different guys caught passes. And 7 of those 9 had double-digit receptions. You don't see that very often in the NFL or any level of football.
No, it was an incredible game by really everyone in the passing game. And I give credit to Mahomes because, the quarterbacks, it's a sexy position, right? They get all the love. But no, the pass catchers, I thought, played really well. On the flip side, one more question specifically about this game this past Sunday. Bryce Young, I thought, played really well, and he's obviously had a rough go of it to start his career, but he had what I thought was the best game of his career. I know he played against Green Bay and had 300 yards last season, but that was a Joe Barry team. That's different. I thought he played really well. How much of that do you think was a really good game plan by Carolina, and how much of that do you think was stuff that Spags is going to have to fix with the guys on defense?
It's always all of the above in a question like that.
Sure.
It's a little bit of both. And it's a fair question, but it goes back, and sometimes I hate it when I'm right. If you go back to our discussion last Thursday, I said that it's really been a 3-game improvement that has been profound for Bryce Young. His, going back to QBR against the blitz, in the first 2 weeks of the season, he was 46.8, just dreadful at the bottom of the league. But he's like 103 now, 103 against the blitz over the past 4 games. So it's not just the 2 games they won back-to-back. It was the game prior to that and this game, where if you blitz him, he's making teams pay. And so it goes back to one of the challenges the Chiefs have of getting a 4-man rush. Now, Danon brought this up during the broadcast, but I've also felt this, and I think I've brought it up with you guys on multiple occasions. One of the most devastating defensive plays isn't necessarily a sack. It is a batted down pass. Because offensively, ask any offensive coordinator you work with, and they'll go, it was set up to go. And they knocked down the pass even before it got to the guy. Well, Bryce Young's not very tall. He's listed at what, 5'10", maybe that. I don't know if he's quite 5'10". So there wasn't any deflections or affecting the physics of his throws, which I thought that the Chiefs would be able to do. And so, again, it's not just sacks. It's just affecting the play and the rhythm of the throw, or, again, the aerodynamics of the throw, and the Chiefs weren't able to get that done. So give Bryce Young credit.
We're joined by Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs here on 580 Sports Talk. Kind of joined us a couple days early this week due to the Thanksgiving holiday. Mitch's appearances here on 580 Sports Talk are brought to you by both Hy-Vee and by Azura Credit Union. I know a guy that we've talked about a number of times in recent weeks, Mitch, is Noah Gray. And I feel like I need to shout him out again because he was awesome again this past weekend. He has become such a dynamic weapon. You know, we were joking on the show yesterday. You know, he's the tight end one right now, not Kelsey. And I know there's a lot more, intricacy that goes into that. But the fact that he has emerged, and now you can run these 12 personnel sets. We had a stat yesterday from Next Gen Stats at the NFL. The Chiefs are just destroying teams when they're on offense, when they run out of 12 personnel. That's kind of been a cheat code grouping of personnel for a few years in the NFL now. And the Chiefs being able to take advantage of it, I think, takes this entire team to another level.
And I think there's a lot into that, and it's great that you bring that up. The one of the 12 is it's one running back, 2 tight ends. So your running back is being productive, whether that is Kareem Hunt or Samaje Perine was in there more last week, even to some extent Carson Steele, and then Isaiah Pacheco is going to enter that scene soon. But the 2 tight ends, that's why I hated that Peyton Hendershot got hurt. Because now, we've stacked up 3 tight ends that are gone. And because 13 personnel also has produced some good numbers. But Noah Gray, think about this, and think about his 4 touchdowns in the 2 weeks. All have been 4 different kinds of plays, all 4 different kinds of routes, all at 4 different parts of the field. And I probably told you this last week, but where I'm really excited about Noah Gray is his role as the F position, the fullback. And that's an F or an H back. He'll be offset. He blocks enough and does a great job of that, of running the ISOs or leads that a normal fullback lead blocker would run out of an I or offset I, that he's really good at running routes out of there. This isn't the sausage, churning like the little engine that could to get out there to catch a 7-yard route. There are 2nd and 3rd level routes that Gray can run from the F position. And his 2nd touchdown, which was an excellent route and was a kind of a secondary throw for Patrick, was from that spot. And if you create think of Kyle Juszczyk here of the 49ers, and you have a weapon as a receiver in that spot, now it's one more piece that opens up for everybody else. You were mentioning about the good parts of the passing game, and I'm totally with you. There was more to like there than fans, I think, they just see the result and like, oh man, barely won the game. But the 5 sacks is problematic. That's the most sacks the Chiefs. It was a career high for Mahomes, and some of those are so fast that Pat does not have time to react. I was having a little bit of tape video session with Matt Nagy today, and we looked at some of those and some of the protection issues, and Patrick doesn't have time to even react. We know what he can do if he has just one more click of time or 2 clicks to react, and then something good's going to happen. But right now, it's so fast in getting on him that it's just the play's over before it begins.
I don't want, to sell any of Coach Nagy's secrets here, but I am curious, Mitch, because you're spot on. I noticed it just watching the game on TV, the quickness with which Carolina was able to get in the backfield. And that's the best Jadeveon Clowney has looked all year, if not even longer. He looked awesome in that game on Sunday. What is sort of the idea behind, all right, how do we at least slow it down? If we can get that extra tick from Mahomes that he can find the open guy or throw a guy open, all he needs is one beat more. Is there a basic idea or a basic strategy to help him out even for that one extra split second?
Well, there's a comprehensive answer, but let's just take it down to where I think that it would start, and that is if you chip, and the Chiefs are going to have to chip some. That doesn't mean keeping 8 guys in to max protect, and sending 2 guys out on routes or something. It's not that, because the Chiefs just don't operate that way. But different guys chip. Tight ends will chip and release. Running backs can chip and release. In fact, one of Noah Gray's plays was a chip and release play. But the chips have got to work. Your chipper has got to do a decent job, and they didn't in the game for the most part on Sunday. Now, Noah Gray did, but the others didn't. And it was even surprising because that's kind of Pirine's deal. But then your tight ends, Kels is asked to do it sometimes, not just Noah Gray. So whomever this third tight end is going to be, and again, having lost 3 tight ends with Fortson and Wiley, and now Hendershot going down, that's an issue too. But your answer, I would give you, the chips have to be better, and it has to be working in concert with the offensive lineman. There's times our offensive lineman has either bumped the chipper off his block, or the chipper has bumped the offensive lineman off the block. It happened in this game where Trey Smith looks like he got blown up, and really he gets his feet tangled up with a chip blocker, and he falls down. And all of a sudden there's this free release from a B-gap Panther guy. So offensive linemen have to work in concert. It's one of the more underrated parts of football. And then your chip and release guy, or your stay in the 6th guy to block, also has to work in concert. So that to me would be the answer to you. At least the start of a bigger answer is better coordination, communication, if you're going to keep extra guys in the block, and you're going to need them, especially this week with Max Crosby, who wants to eat everybody he can find.
Mitch Holthus is our guest, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. That is the absolute perfect description of Max Crosby. I've been looking for years for the best one. I think that's it. Mitch joins us every week here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union, moving up a couple of days due to Thanksgiving this week. So it's Raider week now, Mitch, and we know, and we talked about this a few weeks ago when these two teams squared off, there is something different and there is something special about Raider week. But I have to imagine, knowing that this team is hungry to go out there and kind of show the world that, hey, just because we only won by 3 over Carolina doesn't mean we're not still the team to beat. Let's not forget who won the last 2 Super Bowls. I have to imagine there's got to be at least a little extra juice for this one, especially considering the last time these two teams faced near the end of a year, well, we all know what happened on Christmas Day last season. So have you felt the same thing, that there's a little extra fire, a little extra zest going into Friday's game?
That started today. I told you Sunday, the plane ride home, and guys are tired, but there was this kind of feeling of casting a pall. It's like, did we lose? But then Monday starts to flow a bit, and then today I sense that, because it's on. Like, let's go, let's attack these guys and get after them. And the Chiefs have won 7 home games in a row, and the last loss was to these guys last Christmas Day, where they did not complete a pass in the last 3 quarters of a game. I mean, that just blows my mind in the NFL that happened. But so it's time to kind of figure this out and get going. And you'd like to see it on both sides of the ball. It's hard to blow teams out when you don't turn teams over, and the Chiefs aren't turning teams over. Now, there were no turnovers by the Chiefs. Any one turnover would have lost the game. And the other part, this is going to be one of my thesis points of next week's Minute with Mitch, is that Spags calls them 4-point plays. There is a 4-point play in football, and that's when a defense gets a red zone stop and forces teams to kick field goals instead of getting touchdowns. And that happened 4 different times last week. That's a difference. Think about it in the game. Any one of those 4 become a touchdown of the red zone holds, and the Chiefs lose to the Panthers. So take the ball away defensively. Try to pressure Aiden O'Connell or whomever. If it's going to be Desmond Ridder, it looks like it's going to be O'Connell. But then also get 4-point plays if you need to, but we got to get some turnovers here, or it's hard to, again, blow people out.
Man, we could spend an entire show, Mitch, talking about that disaster in the quarterback room for Las Vegas. But I did want to make sure we get to some of your nuggets of the night. You let me know that there are some good ones that we've got going into Raider week on Friday. Black Friday game, middle of the afternoon kickoff at Arrowhead. What do we got for our nuggets this week?
Okay. Everybody's national pundits are wailing and gnashing of teeth on winning by one possession. It's driving people crazy. The Chiefs keep winning by one possession. They're 10-1 in all these one possession wins. Brendan, they have 14 straight wins by a one-score margin, or when it's a one-score margin, counting the playoffs. That's the longest in NFL history. 14 games.
Wow.
When it's been a one-score margin, because the loss to Buffalo was 9 points. So that would have broken that streak. So 14 straight wins, that's an NFL record for one-possession wins. This year, 8 wins of the 10 have been by one possession, 80%. Smith Center High School. I went to general math. 80% of wins by one possession by a defending Super Bowl champion is the best in National Football League history. The only two that are close, the 1991 New York Giants, who again were defending Super Bowl champions, had 75% of their wins by one possession. The 2013 Ravens of John Harbaugh had 75% of their wins by one possession. The Chiefs have 80% of their wins by one possession. The scoring differential, which is driving people crazy. Got to have a plus 200 scoring differential or you're a nerd. The Chiefs are plus 52 in scoring differential. Of the 61 teams in the NFL that have started 10-1, 60 of the 61 teams had more of a scoring differential than the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs. The only team with less, the 1976 Raiders were plus 41.
Wow.
And if everybody freaked out over that team, they went on to win the Super Bowl, the 76 Raiders. So let's just all cool it and just kind of figure this out, try to get after the Raiders. But there are those stats are just mind-boggling. We're seeing stuff that we've never seen before, both from a success standpoint and then how that success is being reached.
That is incredible. It's also a great way to just boil it down to y'all got to calm down. This is still the best team in the NFL. Still the top, the two-time defending Super Bowl champions. They're still pretty dang good. Mitch Holthus, he's the absolute best of the best when it comes to all things Chiefs. So thankful he joins us every single week here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, happy Thanksgiving to you, to your family, to the whole organization as well. Enjoy the holiday, however you get to celebrate it this year. Enjoy the Black Friday game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. We're changing it to Red Black Friday, but that's okay. It's we're making a big push to do that. So
I love it. Thanks so much, Mitch.
Yeah. See you, bro.
That is the greatest of all time, Mitch Holthus. We throw that phrase around a lot nowadays. The kids throw that phrase around a lot these days. Mitch Holthus is absolutely the greatest of all time. We have to get to a break. We've got more 580 Sports Talk coming up next here on 580 WIBW. 548 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski here. Thanks for hanging out with us throughout the show today. If you missed any of the show, you can check out the YouTube feed. You can go back when the show's over, or you can go right now when it's live. You can rewind, go check old stuff. It's all there on the YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can also find our podcast on our website, 580wibw.com. You can also find the YouTube stream at our website, by the way. It's right in the middle of the homepage every day during the show. Right now, there's a freeze frame of me looking like a total idiot. 580 Sports Talk, 580wibw.com is where you can find it. And you can, of course, find the podcast on Spotify. Just go to Spotify, search 580 Sports Talk. That's where you can find it hour by hour. You don't even have to have a whole 3-hour file up there. You just say, hey, I want to go back and listen to Brendan. I heard you had an announcement at 4 o'clock and Turkeys of the Year at 4 o'clock too. I want to hear that. Boom. 4 o'clock hour on Spotify. It's right there, ready for you. You can find the 580 Sports Talk podcast over on Spotify now. Super excited about that. If anyone has a Random Question Tuesday question, by the way, I know we didn't really do it in the 3 o'clock hour. So if you have one that you want to enter in, you are welcome to in the next 4 minutes or so before we have to get to our final commercial break. We did get one from Mark on YouTube a little bit earlier. Mark asked, BD, have you ever been on a train or a boat? I have been. I've never been on a boat. I guess I've been on a ferry before. I was on the Staten Island ferry when I went to New York in terms of actually traveling on a boat. But I've done like boat tours and stuff in South Carolina. I have been on a train. When I was, in Chicago, there's great train service, the L in Chicago and the Metro, which takes you from the suburbs into the city. It's all great. It's wonderful. Here's a thought, though. I hate Amtrak. If you're an Amtrak lover, if you work for Amtrak, maybe if you have some sort of position of power at Amtrak, I would like to talk to you specifically. Amtrak stinks. They're uncomfortable. They're dirty. They're always late. They're slow. They're inconvenient. And they're getting pricier. If you're going to get pricier, give me a better experience. And I've taken long Amtrak trips. I've taken one half the length from central Illinois all the way to northern Illinois, half the state of Illinois. I took an Amtrak once from Lawrence all the way to Chicago, and then from Chicago down to Bloomington, Illinois, and then reversed it on the way back. And let me tell you, it sucked. It stunk. We need to fix the trains in this country. They are not good. They are very bad. We need to fix them. And I would love to take trains to travel instead of going to the airport, having to drive and put miles on my car. I would love to have high-speed, high-powered trains. But ours are really, 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 really bad. Figure out a way to fix them, government, people above my pay grade, because they stink. Mark, thank you for the question. Also, this from Vance on YouTube. Green bean casserole, yes or no? I'm a no. Nope, sorry. I know a lot of people love it. My wife is a big fan of green bean casserole. No, not for me. I am not a fan, not one bit. And I'll eat green beans on their own, but as a casserole, not so much. My wife and I have a very funny story from Thanksgiving a couple of years ago when there was a bit of a mishap. Might have even been last year. There was a bit of a mishap with the green bean casserole in our oven in our little Lawrence apartment. And, it ended up all over the inside of our oven. I'll leave out the middle details, but yeah, that's how it ended up. No, our Thanksgiving this year, we've tuned it down a little bit because, as you guys heard in the 4 o'clock hour today, I'm going to be a dad soon, and things are a little bit busy at the house because it's coming soon. So we're tuning it down. We're having just a handful of sides, still a full meal, having the turkey. We're going to have some pie for dessert. So super excited about that. Give me, your classics, your mashed potatoes, stuffing, love stuffing. That's at the top of the list. I know some people think it's dry, kind of tasteless. That to me just says you're not making it very well, especially when you bake it inside the bird. Sorry, CDC. I know you're not supposed to do that, but that's how it becomes stuffing and not dressing. And I like it with the turkey juice on it. So bake it inside the bird. Love me some stuffing, mashed potatoes and gravy. Got to get the rolls. Throw some vegetables out there. My wife and I will do, broccoli or cauliflower or any number of vegetables out there. And I like a good mac and cheese with my Thanksgiving dinner as well. And I'll just fill up on turkey. I know some folks, they want Thanksgiving dinner to be all sides. And I don't begrudge you if that's something you want. My wife, there you go, loves sides. I think she prefers sides to the main course of almost every single meal. Barbecue as well included in that. And there you get to know a little bit about my wife, Abby. I'll eat turkey for the entire meal. I love turkey. Put some gravy on that. Oh, I love turkey. People get so upset. Oh, the bird's so dry. Cook it better. Oh, it's so tasteless. Season it better. There are all sorts of ways you can do it. Come on. We have advanced as a society beyond the, oh, well, it's so dry, it's so flavorless. Find better ways to do it. Find a way to fix your own problems. That is my answer to that. If you've got an issue, find a way to fix it. I'm going to drop some life lessons on you while I'm also telling you to make a better meal for your Thanksgiving dinner. So that is what our Thanksgiving is going to look like. I don't believe we're doing the green bean casserole this year. Gary on YouTube says, all right, when's dinner? Yeah, no, I'm hungry now too. I'm very excited. I love Thanksgiving. It is I love Christmas too. And there are other holidays, Easter is very meaningful for me. There are all sorts of good holidays out there. I love Thanksgiving, though. You get to be with family, you get to watch a ton of football, and you get to eat the best meal of the entire year. I don't know how you can beat it. It's right up at the very tippy top of the list for me. Jeffrey also enters stuffing rocks. Favorite pie is pecan pie, and serving rolls with butter. Yeah, buttered rolls. Delicious. Got to have rolls with Thanksgiving dinner. You put the cranberry sauce on them. Oh, yeah. Best way to eat the cranberry sauce. You put it on the roll as a spread. All right. I'm getting hungry. We have to pay some bills. Let's take a timeout. One final commercial break. We'll come back, wrap things up on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Time to wrap up 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. A lot of you fine folks on the YouTube comments and on the text line sharing your Thanksgiving plans. Thank you for doing so, although now I am very hungry. Real quick final word for me. It's a pretty easy one. Had a big announcement at the top of the 4 o'clock hour today, along with our Turkeys of the Year, which was very fun, and I appreciate all you guys for the help in putting that together this year. But I'm going to be a dad pretty soon, and I am so excited about it. I can barely control it. I appreciate all the kind words you guys sent in. It's coming soon, and I'm planning to be here tomorrow. And if so, we're going to have a lot of fun on our final show of the week for Thanksgiving week. We hope to be joined by Matt Derrick, Paul Meyerberg. We will have our good pal Tim Fitzgerald joining us as well. We'll put all that together coming up on tomorrow's show. We will join you tomorrow after K-State women's basketball. They are out in Las Vegas at the Ball Dogs Classic. They'll be in action, 1 o'clock tip-off. They will end at some point in the 3 o'clock hour. We'll join you after post-game here on 580 Sports Talk. So thank you again for the kind words. Appreciate you guys. Looking forward to joining you again for 580 Sports Talk tomorrow. For Spencer Dupuis, Dan Lucero is out today, but for him as well, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. We've got more 580 Sports Talk coming up tomorrow, but until then, This has been your everyday favorite program here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, 580 Sports Talk.